turn your radios up. Y'all know what this is. Y'all know who this is. B-Eazy Dat Dude, an impromptu stream, back with another one. This one is gonna be a banger. May ruffle some feathers, but it will be a doozy. Y'all know I don't like to keep y'all waiting. So before we get this thing started, you know, I gotta hit ya.
If you know the song, sing along. Yeah, you're right.
私も地元民。と言っても、実は世代です。もう友達できたの？うん。ぶったまんまこっち見ろ。
Look, this promethazine got me leaning like a cholo in the club. I'm 20 deep. I don't be riding solo. Pull some bad bitches, they vanilla and cocoa. They wanna take some photos when we kick it out in Soho. Chicks are showing tits and popping pussy for my promo. Told them like juvenile, baby, move it for me slow-mo. Then I'm right back to the block, cause I keep getting modo. I be flipping, not shrinking. I don't give a fuck about This nigga name ain't D-Lo, but pimpin' these bitches and stacking this bread forever be my stilo. This is B-Eazy Dat Dude in the trap making pass smooth. If I ever go broke, then I'm about to pull a jack move. Since a nigga healthy, I don't even gotta worry. With my bitch from Fiji, eating tandoori and chicken curry. That ism is really envy. My pimp game international. I design my own clothes, so I be always looking fashionable. Here's a couple facts about me that y'all didn't know. Some of y'all be getting bread, but I be getting bigger, dawg. I got bigger guns and a whole lot of bad.
Bam. And we are activated. We gonna get right into this thing. Y'all know I don't like to keep y'all waiting, and I try to do things a little bit different today. I'm doing the simultaneous stream so that you can get the vertical view or you can watch this on the TV. And shout out to Ronnie Q. She made a suggestion of this. I seen it. I was considering doing it. So I decided this was going to be the stream to test it out. Now, I won't be here for a long time, but it will be a strong time. I got some other prior engagements, so I may revisit this a little bit later, but I'm going to get right into it. It looks like we might have been joined by some illustrious guests in the chat. Roger Meadows. Oh my goodness, Roger Meadows, you early today. My homie from New York, the big dog, the political prince, Roger Meadows in the building. And we got none other than Tay Bay. What up with it, Tay Bay? What it did it do? In the building. So I'm gonna get right into this because I don't want to keep y'all waiting. This is gonna be a reaction video from a OG elder. Her name is Lady Boulay. This video is a reaction. It says, can Somalis and Black Americans get along? So there's a lot of controversy, a lot of animosity, tension right now. There's exorbitant amounts of fraud and scams to the tunes of billions of dollars. Now, the Somali community shouldn't be generalized because some people in their community are committing crime. The only issue is that when Black Americans, FBAs, when a few of us commit crime, that gets generalized as the entire culture. People start saying who raised them, fatherless homes, etc. Now, if I was to flip this, they say two wrongs don't make it right. Yeah, two wrongs don't make it right, but it makes it even. Two wrongs don't make it right, but it makes it even. So if I just flip it, y'all know my acronym, CESL, SESL, same energy, same logic. If I just flip it and say, who raised these Somalis that's doing all this scamming? that would be considered xenophobic, but people could say that about FBAs and there's no issue. So we're going to get right into this video. Right now, many Black Americans are telling, and this is not just singling out Somalis, we're telling anyone that is not of the lineage, that is not on the program to push us forward. We're talking about enrichment. We're talking about enfranchisement. We're talking about empowerment. If you are not with the program, then you can HYON. What's HYON? Hold your own nuts. 'Tis the season. Now let's get right into this video.
And I hope you're having a great day.
So Somalis aren't just welfare queens of America, they're welfare queens.
Hey, Somalian.
Somalians, oh, Scandinavian.
Them Somalians some rough motherfuckers, man.
Wow. For the past few weeks, we have been going through a global phenomenon.
Shocking, isn't it? What do all these people have in common? You've guessed it right. In fact, I came across a white lady earlier on TikTok. She was advising the same people, asking them to stop, telling them that the same things you're spewing against the Somalis is exactly what we thought of you back in the 80s.
That fits with the saying that says, what goes around comes around. So it was done to Black Americans, and now it's being done to you. What goes around comes around.
So obviously I'm going to be stopping the video, interjecting to give my commentary to make this transformative. So I'm not getting any copyright infringement. So when I do give commentary, I will rewind it back so y'all get the full context of what's being said. So now many melanated and non-melanated immigrants are coming at Black people and saying, you guys are next. No, we were first, and they never stopped coming at us. We warned y'all about everything that's happening to y'all. We warned y'all, and guess what y'all said? Y'all need to stop begging. Y'all need to stop crying. Y'all need to stop acting like a victim. Y'all need to pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. And essentially, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps is a euphemism for hold your own nuts. So you said, you know what? You're right. We do need to stop crying. We do need to stop begging. We do need to pull ourselves up by our bootstrap. And so do you. So that means we ain't coming to save you. So now when they want to kind of preach to us and talk about W supremacy, but we told y'all about that. And y'all said it didn't exist, whether it was Joe Biden, whether it was Kamala Harris, whether it was Obama, the list goes on and on. They said there was no systemic racism. They said there was no white supremacy. It was just a couple mean people in some positions of power doing mean and inequitable things. Okay, fine. So if it's no W supremacy, what are you whining about? We've been through worse than this. Somalis ain't getting dog sicked on them. There's no hoses being sicked on them. Even though they're calling them scammers, they're not calling them niggers. They're not calling them sand niggers. So, I mean, what is the issue, bro? Everything that they're whining about, we've been through tenfold. And people told us to suck it up, buttercup. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. You're going to have to suck it up, buddy. Let's commence.
We thought of you back in the 80s.
That fits with the saying that says, what goes around comes around. So it was done to Black Americans, and now it's being done to you. What goes around comes around. But I wouldn't take seriously anything a white woman said about race, because the Somali situation in the United States and Black Americans situation, if she was talking about Black Americans, is not the same. And she's the last person that should be saying anything.
And what some racists hold as an opinion of your people to this day, the irony. If this is not Stockholm Syndrome, I don't know what is.
And therein lies the problem.
So and before I let the sister cook, there lies the problem. So this dude is trying to reach out to us and implore us to help them. Hey, they did that to y'all in the 80s. I don't know what people have an issue with the 80s. What the crime bill was in the 80s and the 90s. So what the hell is this dude talking about? And you think what, they stopped discriminating us and stopped being anti-Black after the 80s? It was all peaches and cream and kumbaya in the 90s and the 2000s. No, bruh. You were in your segregated ethnic enclave around Somalis saying, I know black, I'm Arab, I'm this, I'm that, everything but black. And now you want to try to talk about the irony and talking about us having Stockholm syndrome? Are you kidding me? So they'll complain about U.S. imperialism, but they want to flee to the U.S. That's not Stockholm syndrome. Instead of standing fighting in your homeland, you're coming to a homeland where people did stand on business. They did fight. And then you want to wag your finger to them that they should fight some more for you, for a cowardly group of people that's not going to stand up and fight. And I'm not talking about every single one, but I am talking about people like this dude and people in positions of power that are unwilling to stay in their homeland and fight. They're coming over to someone else's homeland, telling them what they need to do. You guys is lazy. You need to stop complaining. You need to stop begging. Well, y'all need to stop complaining, and y'all need to stop begging the U.S. government and go to your homeland and deal with the corruption there. Many of these people come over here, run all these corrupt scams, and don't even try to help the people back in their homeland. When they do send money back, allegedly in this situation, there's reports of millions being funneled to terrorist groups. Now, that's alleged, that's rumored, that's reported. But bruh, you got bigger fish to fry than worried about if FBAs is coming out to crash out for you to not be deported.
Americans situation, if she was talking about Black Americans, is not the same. And she's the last person that should be saying anything.
And what some racists hold as an opinion of your people to this day, the irony. If this is not Stockholm syndrome, I don't know what is.
And therein lies the problem. He's quoting what white people think about us as if that's something important. We don't care what white people think about us. They care what white people think about them. That's the.
And we've been joined by an illustrious guest, John. Man, I'm surprised you came through, man. I thought you was going to be getting that rest. You've been working extremely hard, but I do appreciate you sliding through. Mr. Sin Different in building. And this is another thing that people like to say, well, white people were talking about you and these other groups hate you. Okay, cool, but we love ourselves. Remember, say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. So it doesn't matter if somebody else is calling us a nigger or a mud shark or a monkey and low IQ. Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. We're standing on ethnic, lineage, cultural business. So we really don't care what anybody else has to hate on us, because imagine it's a movie, right? And you didn't like this movie. You actually hated the movie, but you spent all of your time talking about how much you hate the movie. It would lead one to believe like maybe you don't hate that movie after all, because if you hated it, you would just shut up about it and be done with it. But every day you're going on and on and on like the Energizer Bunny, talking about an alleged movie that you don't like. Now, metaphorically equate that to black people and people having black fatigue, and every day they're going on and on and on. What we didn't do, we was kangs, we wasery, black on black crime, fatherless home, kid out of wedlock, sub-Saharan African, low IQ, bell curve. It's like, bruh, I thought y'all had fatigue of us. Every day, every post, you just keep whining about us, man. Damn, what would you do without us?
Racists hold as an opinion of your people to this day, the irony. If this is not Stockholm syndrome, I don't know what is.
And therein lies the problem. He's quoting what white people think about us as if that's something important. We don't care what white people think about us. They care what white people think about them. That's the difference between them and us. The white people that are running their mouth did not build this country. They most likely came here after the infrastructure was put into place. So we don't care what they think. At least I don't. And there are many black.
And it's time for FBA Negro freedmen to know your history. They want you to think that your history is in some distant, ancient civilization in Africa, right? And as like, if we doing that, I mean, are you talking about my lineage in ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet? in ancient Africa or ancient Alcubulon, right? Nah, they want you looking thousands of years, but they're not holding anyone else to that standard, right? They'll say, you're African, right? And then they'll say, oh, yeah, well, it's alleged that the so-called Native Americans immigrated here from Siberia, but you're not calling them Asian. There's no race called indigenous. There's no race called Aboriginal. So what race are the so-called Native Americans? Then suddenly the conversation gets shut down. You know what I mean? They don't want us looking to what we've built here. But everybody seems to be trying to come here. They keep wagging their fingers about U.S. imperialism. Y'all were slaves. Why would you want to come here with the slaves, right? What did you build that could usurp what the slaves built? What did you build compared to what the slaves built? You have nothing to compare to. So that's really not a flex, right? Many of them will come over here. Y'all came over here in chains. We came over here in plain. I mean, that's not a flex either. You're still fleeing. You just fled in comfort. You had enough money to flee your homeland and you never looked back. You send money back, but you go over there to live like the Prince of Zamunda. You're not trying to change the racial stratification system, the color scan cast over there. You're not trying to change any of that. You're over here wagging your fingers at FBAs while you up under us, sucking off the teat of FBAs while at the same time denigrating and disrespecting us. And this is why people are saying, hold your own nuts. And people say, hey, it's not all. Yeah, I acknowledge that. Doesn't matter if it's all. What matters is that it's a problematic amount. It's a significant and a substantial amount of people that are doing this and who is speaking out on it. Show me the Somali person that's calling out their community like I am. I just did a video about Nigeria, and there were a bunch of Nigerians celebrating Trump bombing their homeland. How the hell am I going to ally with that? I'm supposed to crash out on Trump. No, you can't bomb those Africans. Those are my brothers and sisters. And then meanwhile, my brothers and sisters are saying, oh, yes, Daddy Trump, please bomb us. How am I supposed to ally with that?
Country. They most likely came here after the infrastructure was put into place. So we don't care what they think. At least.
And I actually almost lost my point. So what I was saying, FBAs, y'all need to know y'all history about how much business your ancestors stood on here. Many people like the America First, the heritage people, their family came here in the 40s and the 50s, even the 30s, the 1900s. We were here way longer than that. Some say 1526, some say 1400. It don't even matter. Let's just stop at 1700. Let's just go with 1700, right? You got people coming here in the 1900s talking about they're more American than you just because they happen to be white. When they came over here, they wasn't considered white. Irish people tell FBAs they're more American than them. They came over and Irish wasn't considered white. Yeah, they were considered white niggers. They weren't considered white. They had to get assimilated. They had to get buck broken into whiteness. Italians weren't considered white. They were called guineas. They were basically saying, you're African. Like, no, you're not like us. And as their birth rates declined and their numbers were dwindling, they adopted a bunch of people into whiteness. So Italians weren't white and they said, come on down. You know what? For the sake of our political advancement, you can be white, which is why when people are saying free Palestine in America, Palestinians are considered white. Lebanese people considered white. Egyptians considered white. There's no one forcing them to check this box. They could check other. They could check and say that they're Asian. Hey, they could even play the semantics and check that they're African American. They're North African. They come to America and they're American citizens. Put two and two together, African American. And I'm not advocating for that, but this shows you the tricky, confusing, and nebulous nature of people conflating nationality, ethnicity, and their racial group. but they say we're a nation of laws, right? So legally, all of the Free Palestine people, they're legally classified as white. So what you're gonna act like the white Middle Eastern Jillian Michaels. She tries to say, I'm Arab. There's no race called Arab. There's no race called Muslim. Jillian Michaels talk about how Syrian she is, and guess what box she checks? White. So gotta call these people out on that when they're trying to make it seem like because they were assimilated into whiteness later, that somehow they're more American than you because their ancestors built this. No, your ancestors were fleeing their homeland. They were fleeing filth, famine, feudalism, and failure, which is why they had to come here. Could you refute anything I said? I didn't think so.
I don't. And there are many Black Americans who think like me.
You know, we have a saying in Somali, which is that don't dig your brother's grave. And if you dig it, don't dig it too deep because you may fall into it and become a victim yourself.
Well, the irony here is that Southern Black Americans have a very similar saying. We say, if you dig a ditch for somebody else, you better dig too, because you're going in the first one. So at least we have that in common.
So it looks like this is a new person coming through. So shout out to Razor Joe. Hopefully you ain't a troll and that you're here for some substantive content, but shout out to Razor Joe. And says Somalians are technically considered white in the census. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Many people. Kamala Harris, her mom was considered Caucasian on the census. So when people point this out, they start acting confused. Well, they're not really white, but it doesn't matter if you believe they're really white or not. They check the box, so that makes them legally white. We're talking about law. Just like when people say, no, Jews are not white. Okay, if Jews are not white, then why do 92% of American Jews identify as racially white? There's no race called Jewish. And if there is a race called Jewish, look at the census form and tell me where they have a Jewish box to check. So if they don't have a Jewish box to check, then that means it's not a race. So then they'll concede that it's not a race. And then they'll say, yeah, but it's an ethnic group. But we're talking about race right now, not an ethnic group. Hispanic is an ethnic group. But when I ask you what race they are, I'm not talking about ethnicity, right? AOC is a Hispanic. Cardi B is a Hispanic. Are they the same race? So people try to play these games to kind of weasel out of things. Many of those Hispanic check the white box while also saying, I'm a person of color. What color? So white people aren't people of color, but you're a person of color who checks the white box. Does that make any sense to you? And Roger says, what is the relationship between freedmen and Palestinian Americans? Good, bad, mixed, or no relationship at all? I would say there's really no relationship at all. And there's a relationship out of convenience and out of comfort. See, we will befriend anyone, we'll invite anyone, we'll love anyone, we'll accept anyone. Now, that's a beautiful and a loving thing, but it's also a very detrimental thing because it's not reciprocated. So, for instance, you'll hear this, well, the Palestinians stood up for the Black community during George Floyd. And then you ask, okay, what did they do? They painted a mural. Okay, that's a nice symbolic gesture. And apparently they told some random people how to get tear gas out of their eyes. I mean, I can look up right now, whether it's Grok, Google, Gemini, Copilot, and find out how to get that out of my eye. Didn't Elon Musk create Grok? So if I get the information from Grok, does that mean Elon Musk helped the Black community? Right now, okay, if I go in my hometown and I paint a mural that says free Gaza, free Palestine from the river to the sea, would that be enough to say that I advocated for the Palestinians? But that's what people are doing with us. They paint a mural and it's like, I stood with the Black community. No, you painted a mural. You're a tag artist and you're an artist, so you created some art. I appreciate that. But to pretend like that's just I'll say a symbolic solidarity, but there's nothing tangible from that. And then not only that, after George Floyd was violently executed, there was a bunch of Black people that got unalived after that. Where were the murals for them? Where were the chants? Where were the donations? Where was the coalition building? So everyone likes to bring up George Floyd. What about Tyree Nichols, Philando Castile, Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor? These people weren't there for all of the other deaths, but they're like George Floyd. And I bought a BLM shirt that went to some non-Black person. And not only that, many people was using the pain and plight of George Floyd to hijack it for their own cause. When they were BLM protests, most of them were white. Y'all can look it up. Don't take my word for it. Most of the people out there was white. There was Palestinian Lives Matter out there. You don't see us going to Palestinian protests talking about reparations or BLM, but they was at our protests talking about Palestinian lives matter, trans lives matter, no lives matter, white lives matter. Antifa was out there, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers. So people were just willingly wanted to hijack our cause to turn it into their issue, but we don't do that. You know what I mean? There's been a bunch of Black people getting fired. Mark Lamont Hill, who I call Moist Lamont Shill, he got fired for on the UN floor advocating for Palestine. Could you tell me one Palestinian that's been fired for standing up for Black Americans? Tell me one Arab that's been fired for standing up for Black Americans. So we crashing out for every single group, but nobody crashes out for us. Then when we say, you know what? Hey, hold your own nuts. You're being xenophobic. How the fuck am I being xenophobic? I'm just giving you the same energy that you gave me. You wasn't standing up for us. We ain't standing up for y'all. What's the issue? But let's get back into the video.
With the Somalis.
So I guess you must be wondering by now, what did Somalis do to make these people so mad? Apparently, there are two reasons. And one of those reasons is that apparently Somalis claim to be Arabs. Now, I'm a Somali myself, and I have never come across a Somali claiming to be an Arab.
Well, let me introduce you to one.
Somalis are not black. Let me explain why. Looking at me right now, chat, am I black? I'm literally brown. I'm literally brown, bro. Think about it as well. Somalis are Arabs. We're in the Arab leagues. We speak the Arab language. We eat the Arab food. Bro, think about it like this, bro. If a whole community doesn't regard themselves as black, we can't be black, bro. We literally can't be black, bro. Boogie, did you eat your brain cells? Really and truly, Somalis are Arabs, bro. Think about it, bro. We're in the Arab leagues. We speak the Arab language. Bro, tell me I'm not lying, bro.
Now, that is a Somali woman claiming to.
Okay, and I would be remiss without giving a humongous shout out to that political dynamo, also known as Ronnie Q. What it do in the building. Now, let me just get back to this dude over here, man. He is giving off Tether vibes. Now, look, you're not a Tether just because you're not of the lineage, but if you do and say things that undermine us, you work against the agenda, you're off code, then yeah, you may get called, you may get labeled, you may get classified as a Tether. So she just played a video of a Somali woman talking about that they're not black. And then they're pointing to the skin color. Most FBAs are not black. When someone says that they're black, we're not saying that our skin tone is black. We're saying that as a black racial and ethnic group, black is our ethnonym. So because if people want to hold us to these exact standards, right? AOC is supposed to be a people of color. AOC is not brown. She's a spicy Latina. Okay, yeah, but what color is AOC? Lucy Liu, right? She's an Asian. What color is Lucy Liu? She's definitely not brown. She's not yellow. But so what color is she? So most FBAs are brown. We even have FBAs that are red bone. So when we're saying black, obviously we're not talking about our skin tone is black. So this is a cowardly excuse for him to say, oh, Somalis, we know that our skin tone, we don't regard our skin tone as black. So that's why we say that we're Arab, but the Arabs don't see you as black. They see you as an Abid. And Abid means slave. So let's rewind it back. And not only that, bro, we don't even really live by Somali. See, this is the thing that people refuse to talk about. Like, all of these groups, they come and they become transplants. They want to live in ethnic enclaves, whether it be Korea. How could you have a Koreatown? That means it has to be enough Koreans over there for you to form a Koreatown. How do you have a Chinatown? How do you have a little Haiti? How do you have a little Senegal? So if we're all black and we're all people of color, where is the black town? Where's the African American town? Where is the black town? Where is the people of color town? Where's the minority town? No, all of these groups, they'll move to a town and they want to take it over and make an ethnic enclave for themselves. If there was a Harlem Renaissance of black people building up Harlem, and then somebody comes in and say, we want to make it Spanish Harlem. Huh? Why it can't just be Harlem? And some people speak English. Some people speak Creole. Some people speak, Spanish. No, they want to separate and delineate. And we say, okay, fine. Y'all been doing this for years and we want to do it now. And everybody starts acting confused. The Somalis, they don't live around a bunch of FBAs. They live around other Somalis. So the crime that's being done is Somali on Somali crime. But it won't get framed as that up until now, until we start delineating. Up until a couple years ago, when Somalis was doing crime, it was considered black culture. But we don't have a history of female blank mutilation. They do in certain parts of Africa. So we not trying to take credit for none of that stuff, but this dude over here is acting like we really care if you identify as Arab. No, what we were trying to warn you guys is, yeah, y'all can say that you're Arab, you can say that you Muslim, but in America, the place that promulgated the one drop rule here, and this was to our detriment as well. But like I said, we're 11 people. So we were calling anyone black. Nah, man, y'all ain't Arab. Y'all black. Y'all tripping. Y'all black like us. And they kept telling us, no, we're not black. And now that Trump is, generalizing them, demonizing them, then it turns into, well, FBAs, they were saying this about you. Yeah, and they're still saying that about us. They never stopped talking about us. We've never stopped being discriminated on. We've never stopped being hated on. And actually, this is light work, what they doing to the Somalis, right? So it will be some musty, crusty, dusty nigga in Chicago that does a drive-by, and all black people have to answer for that. But then there's multiple Somalis running these elaborate billion-dollar fraud rings where they're screwing over the taxpayers. But we're not supposed to talk about culture. We're not talking about who raised them. No fatherless homes. I mean, is this Muslim culture? Is this Somali culture? You can't ask the question because that would be considered xenophobic. How is it not xenophobic for you to do the same thing against Black Americans? But let's get back into the video.
Be an Arab. Now, all of them don't claim to be Arabs, and some of them know how ridiculous it sounds, but some of them do. And as is the case with social media, the people who take the most controversial.
Oh my goodness. Bruce is on the loose. Bruce, if you're going to come over here, at least give a more cogent, a more intelligent argument. So let me read this, and I'm going to read this in the moist voice that you probably sound. Y'all are always wrapped up in color. Who the fuck is y'all? Who is y'all? Like, won't you specify who the fuck gives what a color you are? Clearly you do. That's why you're here whining about color. If you didn't care about color, you could have left this comment off. But guess who does care about color? J.D. Vance, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Tim Pool, Scott Jennings. All of these people are crying about color. We need more white babies. Every time they keep crying about color, they're saying white men are being discriminated against. They're talking about systemic racism against white people. They're talking about DEI is bad for white people. So all of the people that are in positions of power, prominence, and influence, they keep bringing up color. So clearly people care about color. So Bruce, I don't know if you trolling or what, but this was an idiotic comment. You're not intellectually formidable, bro. Formidable. Go read a little bit more books and try again. You failed with this one. I'm up one.
Your views get the most attention.
You're either an Arab or a Somali. You can't be the two. But I guess it's because Somalis are Muslims. But there are Black Americans who are Muslims. There are Africans who are Muslims. There are white Europeans who are Muslims. Islam as a religion is not a religion for the Arabs only. Islam was sent to the whole of mankind, and anyone can become a Muslim. And there are many different races who claim to be Muslims.
See, this is that religiosity, Muslim mushmouth babble, bruh. We don't care if you're Muslim. We don't care if you're Arab. There's no race called Muslim and there's no race called Arab. See, this is why we say that we're B1, because we stand on being black first and black primarily. These other people, they use blackness as a code. If they think that there's some political advantages, oh, yes, I am black. Any other time, oh, no, I know black. I know black. Okay, that's fine. When we turn around and say that you're not black, then why are you whining, bruh? Why are you whining? And there's a hierarchy in the Muslim community, right? The Arab Muslims, the non-black Arab Muslims, they don't treat y'all with respect. They call y'all a bead. Y'all have to bend the knee and bow down to them. When you saying Islam is just for anyone, right? It's a global religion that anyone could be a part of. Yeah, a global religion that has a hierarchy that keeps you at the bottom. You won't speak about that, but you will whine about thinking that black people care if you call yourselves black. No, we don't care if you call yourselves black. We were trying to do you a favor and welcome you into blackness and say, hey, look, we all are brothers and sisters and stuff. And y'all said, no, y'all want to be brothers and sisters with the Muslims and Arabs. So go ahead. Go have them crash out for you. There's no Palestinian. Show me the prominent Palestinian that's talking about what's going on about the Somalis being demonized. Show me an Arab Muslim that's talking about the Somalis being demonized. They're not even asking Arab Muslims to speak up for them, but they are asking FBAs when they just said that you're not black. Why are they not asking people of color to stick up for them? There's Sudan, Jordan, Egypt. Why are none of these countries speaking up for them? But instead, they want the FBAs, the groups that they think are powerless and low IQ and lazy. Yeah, if we're so lazy, then why would we stick up for you? You know, we're too busy doing our lazy nothingness. But I also would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the hardest working mod in and on YouTube, Vibrant Lowell, in the building. And we got Mets fan slide through. He said Muslim is number one. Some of y'all just got some vague commentary, bro. Like, I wish y'all would elaborate. Number one in what? Number one with doing what? Number one with saying what? Like, another useless comment. No disrespect. I'm just saying, like, bring some scholarship, bruh.
I guess education is an issue for these people, isn't it? Reason number two, apparently Somalis claim to be not black. Now, again, I have...
Okay, so I'm going to rewind this back, but he threw a little shot where he said, I guess education is an issue with some of you people. Well, you really don't want to go there. Do you want to compare the educational system in Somalia to here? I mean, I think Trump was gaslighting, but it was Trump and Stephen Miller where they said some measurements say 80%, some measurements say 90% of Somalis in Minnesota are on welfare. A lot of them are fostering baby mama culture, where if the woman is not married, then they just kind of discard her and see her as a leftover. Hey, you wasn't good enough to keep a man, so why should I keep you? There's videos of Somalis talking about this. These are not my words to denigrate them. These are Somalis saying this. So when he's over here trying to talk about, oh man, maybe it's an education issue. When you talk about HBCUs, these are historical colleges. We had people who were enslaved and coming out of slavery, becoming doctors, becoming lawyers and stuff like that. People will come all over the world at HBCUs. Damn near 30 to 40% of them are non-Black Americans. There's a lot of African and Caribbean immigrants, and there's a lot of non-Black immigrants going over there, right? Nobody is flocking to go to Somalia. There's no prestigious in school in Somalia that he can speak to. And I'm not trying to denigrate or downplay, but what I'm saying is people don't like this. When people come at FBAs, right, and they try to roast and they try to throw their jabs and stuff, they throw these little pillow soft jabs and we come with knockout punches. And then people get mad and say, well, why'd you knock him out? Well, look, bruh, he threw this little jello jab and he got knocked out. You try to roast with us and you will get roasted. That's just how it is. You can't compete with us. He's talking about there's an educational issue or deficiency. Is that the hill that you want to die on? I'm just saying, let me rewind it back though. But now y'all see why we delineate. Now y'all see why there's issues. And I am a person that is about solidarity, is about unity. But there's not going to be unity where you're disrespecting me. You expect for it to go unchecked and we're just supposed to proceed forward like nothing ever happened. Nah, bro, we going to get some straightening.
There are Black Americans who are Muslims. There are Africans who are Muslims. There are white Europeans who are Muslims. Islam as a religion is not a religion for the Arabs only. Islam was sent to the whole of mankind, and anyone can become a Muslim. And there are many different races who claim to be Muslims. But I guess education is an issue for these people, isn't it? Reason number 2, apparently Somalis claim to be not Black. Now, again, I have never come across a Somali who does not claim to be Black.
I don't know where this man lives, but he doesn't know his people. Somalis are all over TikTok claiming not to be Black.
Somalis, we're not Black, bro. We're not Black.
We are Somalis, not Black. There, I said it.
So Somalis are not on one accord with this. Some say they're not Black and some say they are. But I'm surprised that he's never heard any of his people say.
Either he's heard it or he's lying. The majority, like I said, we usually are not around each other because they live in ethnic enclaves. They're not trying to say, hey, let's live around other of our brothers and sisters. Somalis don't even want to live next to Nigerians. Somalis not living next to Congolese people or Haitians. Somalis live next to Somalis. So they've always been saying that they're not Black. Yeah, you can say that some of them were saying that they are, and many of them weren't. Many of them in prominent positions of power were saying that they weren't. They were setting the tone and the culture for the rest of them. But the only time they do say they're Black is when they're seemingly in distress. Ilhan Omar always talks about how Muslim she is and she's Somali first. Then suddenly Trump was attacking her and she starts saying, he's going after Black immigrants. Nah, he's going after you. He's going after your tether ass, Ilhan Omar. And I'm sure there's some great Somali people out there. Salute to them. I would love to link and build with them, but only if you're willing to call your people out. See, we're always supposed to call our people out. We're the only group that do it. They talk about the Black community has an accountability problem. But yet we're the only one holding our community accountable. Where are the Somalis? I'm talking about in positions of power, in positions of influence, a public figure. There were a handful of people and they were very tepid, but they called out their community for various things, right? But with us, we calling out our community for everything. Black on Black crime, kids out of wedlock. It's a bunch of Sambos. You got the Kundis Owens, those Coon twins. You got Coonston White, Coonton Daniels. It's just Coon after Coon after Coon. Show me the Asian people that are calling out their community. Show me the Hispanic people that are calling out their community. Show me the Jewish people that are calling out their community. So it seems that all these other groups have an accountability problem. No group is perfect, right? So they should have no issues calling out their community. But all of those other groups that I named, guess what they're always doing? Telling Black people what they ain't doing, what they need to do. Even though they don't even live by Black people, they all live in their own ethnic enclaves. You think it's a bunch of Black people that live in Chinatown? So Chinese people are living in Chinatown by their own people. But when there comes to say, oh, we're experiencing hate, like, how is it black people? Y'all don't even live by black people. Most of those hate crimes, which were not hate crimes, they were, if you look at the language, they were called hate incidents. People saying, go back to China and you got the Kung flu. Most of those people were non-black. But guess who they did blame for the bulk of it? Black people. So, we're just tired. If y'all want to go live in your own ethnic enclave, fine. Go over there, be by yourself, and fight by yourself. Hold your own nuts. 'Tis the season.
That they're not black, because they are definitely saying it. And I'm also side-eyeing that t-shirt he's wearing. I didn't think Muslims were supposed to come out underdressed.
But as Somalis, just like all Africans, we recognize black to be a color, but not an identity. Yes, we are black by color.
So there you go. He said, we recognize black to be a color, but not an identity. And that sounds foolish because most black people are actually brown. Most black people are his complexion or even lighter than that. This is where the term red bones comes from. You can have two black parents and still be light skinned. So when we say we're black, we're not talking about we're the color black. We're saying that is our racial and ethnic identifier. So that's fine if you want to identify as Muslim. That's fine that you want to identify as Arab. Have the Arabs cape for you. Have the Muslims cape for you. And when they find out that there's no Muslims caping for you, no Arabs caping for you, guess who you come begging to? FBAs, could you please help us? We're all from the motherland. What, the motherland you fled from and that you don't want to go back to? Nah, man. And I got to give a shout out to the illustrious guest, Sha Ra King, in the building. You late today, Sha Ra King. You usually hear number one, the first one to see. But Rain said on the down low, it's always us. I don't know who you talking to or what you talking about, but maybe you could elaborate in the chat. Who is us? Who is the us you're referring to?
Color, but that's not our identity as Africans. Ask any African where you're from. For example, ask a Nigerian where you're from. They will tell you Nigeria. If you ask them deeper, they may go on to tell you their tribe, whether they're Yoruba, Igbos. Back in Africa, we recognize each other.
So this person seems like a troll, the walrus poacher with a name like that. Sounds like a possible incel, but I'll entertain it because it seems you don't have anything better to do. So he says, not trying to sound weird, but I was wiping earlier and a finger accidentally slipped in. I kind of like it. Is that gay or am I okay? For you to leave this comment, it sounds like it was heavy on your mind. And it sounds like you are gay. And actually, you know what? This warrants this. So the walrus poacher, I gotta hit you.
With that freaky ass shit, nigga. You's a freaky ass nigga. Fuck you mean? Get your freaky ass on. You know you freak. With that freaky ass shit, nigga. You's a freaky ass nigga. Fuck you mean? Get your freaky ass on. You know you freak.
So, Walrus, it sounds like you would have been cordially invited to a Diddy party. Sounds like you would have been VIP. Sounds like you would have brought. Did you send Diddy a bottle of baby oil? Sounds like you would have brought your own, the organic kind. So the Walrus poacher, hey, just come out the closet, bruh. Take that walrus off. Put on your best birthday suit, your high heels, your sissy gear, and just come out the closet, walrus poacher. This is the time where they're embracing you, bruh. So, yeah, it's okay for you to be gay. Let's commence.
By tribe. We are nations of tribes. Go to Kenya, there are different tribes. Go to Ethiopia, there are different tribes. Go to anywhere in Africa, go to Ghana, go to, the whole of West Africa. You will find that there are different tribes. They're not going to tell you, I'm black.
How much time did you spend meal prepping?
Okay. The walrus poacher was just joking around. Was you joking around, bro? What were those really jokes? Who knows? But hey, if you subscribe, man, I sincerely appreciate that. But hey, I heard those Diddy parties was lit, man. Maybe you would have had a great time, bro. Who
He's
knows?
right about that. And we've heard that before. And most of us understand that. We understand that in Africa, you are all a homogeneous group for the most part. You're all Black. So you don't go around calling yourselves Black. You don't. But what you miss where we are concerned is that we didn't have a choice in the matter. We had to surrender our identity as Africans. We had to give up the name, the culture, the language, even our families. All of that was taken from us. Our ancestors were captives in a system where they were reduced to chattel, which is the same as property. They were somebody else's property to do with as they chose. They were in survival mode. They didn't have time to go through these word salads where they were choosing what to be called. They knew who they were. They knew exactly who they were. But the name of the game was rebranding. So they were rebranded. They were no longer Wolof or Ashanti or Igbo or Fulani or Hausa or whatever tribe they came from. They were just reduced to being Black. So they had to transcend the meaning of what Black was to a white person and make it mean something more to them. I think it was a wonderful strategy. All you have to do to understand this.
So Mets fan says, sorry, I think people still need to have a knowledge of Quran. I think people need to have a knowledge of many things. I don't know if they need to have a knowledge of the Quran, but I don't think it will be bad. I do believe that there are some good messages taught in the Quran. This is the whole thing, though. Whether it be Muslim people, Christian people, Jewish people, many people will hold the Quran, the Talmud, the Bible. They'll hold it near and dear to their heart, but they're not practicing it to the letter, right? There are some compromises that they make, but who gets to say that, right? Some people will say, hey, you got to be a religious zealot, and every word on there is gospel. But there's a bunch of people, let's just take Israel. There's a bunch of pedos that flee to Israel, and it's alleged and reported that, it's a haven for them, right? There's a bunch of Catholic priests who has a proclivity for fondling little boys' booty holes. I mean, does it say that anywhere in the good book that they should be okay to play with boys' booty holes? Does it say that anywhere in there, right? And this happens in all religions, right? Even if they're not doing that particular atrocity or sin, they're doing something contradictory to what it says. So what should happen to them after that? Many people are they say practice what you preach, right? But many people aren't practicing what they're preached. So we can say that that shouldn't delegitimize the religion, but a religion, and a book is an inanimate object, right? The only thing that brings life to those books are people's sentiment, spirit, and behavior. And if their spirit is a little bit shaky, their behavior is a little bit suspect, how much value does pushing the Quran or Bible actually have to somebody? You know what I mean? Especially somebody that's trying to get their life started. If somebody wants to say, hey, I want to start a family, I want to be able to live the American dream and have a home with a white picket fence, how does the Quran help them do that? Well, if you just follow the Quran to the letter of the law, then, you'll what? Pull yourself up by your religious bootstraps? I mean, there were a bunch of white dudes at Turning Point USA who are claim to be as Christian as it gets. And guess what? They're still complaining about DEI because they can't get their life started. They can't afford a home. So yeah, the religious stuff, I do believe it serves a purpose. But when we're talking about empowerment and, tangibles, enrichment, what does it really do for you? What sustenance does it provide for you, right? If you need to feed your kids, what would a Bible verse do for that? If you need to physically perform, right? You know, you got a happy wife, happy life, right? You need to make love to your lady. How does the Quran help you do that? How does the Talmud help you do that? Well, maybe if you holler at Rabbi Shmuley, he could help because he sells dildos and stuff like that. But outside of Rabbi Dildo, how does these religious people help you in your day-to-day life in things that are tangible, not just a belief, not just a feeling, right? Not just the sentiment, which I do believe is valuable for you to have some sort of moral compass and spiritual compass. But ultimately, those are just vibes. You can't keep your wife happy off of vibes. You can't put your kids through college off of vibes. You can't live a life of meaning off just vibes. So let me know what I missed, Mets fan.
They were just reduced to being Black. So they had to transcend the meaning of what Black was to a white person and make it mean something more to them. I think it was a wonderful strategy. All you have to do to understand this is to watch the miniseries Roots. The main character, Kunta Kinte, was captured in the Gambia and put on a slave ship. His name was Kunta Kinte. He knew his name, he knew his tribe, he knew his language. But in the slave system that was imposed on our people, he was forced to give up his name. When they called him Toby, they renamed him Toby. And he said, no, I'm Kunta Kinte. They said, no, your name is Toby. He said, no, I'm Kunta.
And of course, you know, people will say that, you know, Roots was exaggerated or over embellished. Regardless, it was a depiction of what actually happened. And people can say that it was embellished, exaggerated. Many people say it was kind of underreported of the actual atrocities that was gone. But this is another thing that people like to say, hey, you guys don't know who you are. You don't know where you're from. You know, basically they try to make us these lost generic Africans, right? Then on top of that, when we do build a culture, then they say, yeah, you got that from Africa. How the fuck did we get it from Africa when you just said that we're lost? We don't know where we're from. How could I build something where I don't even know where it came from? And then they want to try to act like it's just innately in you. No, whatever was African got whooped out. And that's what she was talking about, that scene with Toby, right? Whose name was Kunta Kinte. And in that depiction, he was a teenage boy standing on his African heritage business. No, my name is Kunta. Crack the whip. No, my name is Kunta. Crack the whip and keep on cracking the whip until he said his name was Toby. So his lineage, his cultural achievements, his accomplishments, all of that stuff was stripped from him. He had to form something completely new. And then after generation, things keep getting diluted, remixed, repackaged, repurposed, revitalized until something completely different. Look up the term ethnogenesis. That's what we had here. We're an amalgamated group, a mixture of people from various parts of the continent of Africa, East Africa, West, Central Africa, people that were indigenous to the Americas, people that were European, all just an admixture. You know, so we are a very unique and a very distinct ethnic group. This was something that was newly formed. So when people will try to act like, oh, yeah, you know, you're from this distant place that didn't even exist. When my ancestors were building here, many of those countries didn't exist. There was no Benin. There was no Trinidad and Tobago. There was no Nigeria. But now they want to tell you, yeah, you're actually from Nigeria. Even though your family, you can trace your lineage here before Nigeria even existed. Does that make any sense to you? And so then they want to try to make it seem like, yeah, you're from a plot of land that wasn't called Nigeria, but it's called Nigeria now, and you're from that plot of land. They can't prove it to you, They just want you to have belief in seeing the Black Panther Wakanda movie and seeing Coming to America. So you think that you can go over there and be the Prince of Zamunda. Meanwhile, your ancestors have been here longer than many of these newly arrived immigrants who are trying to say that they're heritage Americans. So yeah, it's imperative for you to stand up and stand on lineage business. Your ancestors literally fought, bled, and died for this.
Kente, and they beat him and beat him and beat him into submission. He was a kid that was captured and taken from his homeland in the hands of strangers. He didn't have a choice. So it's not like we decided that one day, oh, we're thinking to be.
Hey, so here we got another troll, a pipsqueak, a dweeb, Vinny, whatever your name is, Vinny. And Vinny, if you want to come up here and we can talk about it, because most of you guys act like you actually have a high IQ, but as soon as that's put to the test, many of you show how intellectually impotent you are. So you're making a very imbecilic argument, and your own people sold them. Okay. So who was forced to buy them, right? Let's just say that was true, because those weren't my people. That's why they were selling them, because they didn't consider them as their people. So a lot of you think that you were Vikings. What do you think the Vikings were doing? The Vikings were raping, pillaging, and plundering their own people. So that's what you come from. You come from a culture of barbarism. You come from a culture with heinous and just egregious nature. That's where you come from. So don't be a little hoe in the chat. I mean, like, if you got any smoke, hey, I'll drop that link for you. But people like you, they usually like to just kind of hide in the chat. But yeah, I'll let you come and speak your piece. I could already tell you're not formidable enough. And was never a slave. Okay, cool. Your family fled here, right? And this is one of the weakest arguments, right? Because we're paying Native Americans right now, right? And then they'll say, there was a Native American genocide. Okay, clearly the people that are being paid right now weren't genocided. That's why they're still getting money. How many Holocaust survivors are there actually still alive? But yet and still, every year there's some sort of initiative, some sort of money, some sort of reparative and restorative justice for Holocaust people who didn't actually survive the Holocaust. Did you know when the U.S. paid Japanese reparations, it wasn't for people that was just interned. It was for their heirs. So it doesn't even matter if your family was a slave, because they didn't pay the slaves. Right now, if there's a lawsuit and someone owes you and they pass away, their heir will still owe you, because the debt is going to roll over. This is the same thing with us. Everyone will be white in less than 600 years unless people start going out in the sun. It's called adaptation. Living in houses will make us all white. This sounds like some kind of pseudoscientific babble. If this was the case, then why do you have people like Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Elon Musk running around whining, we need more white babies? Okay, if this is the case and everybody is going to be white in 600 years, then what the fuck are you guys whining for? In Europe, they're over there calling people pajeets and street shitters because they're scared that there's some sort of Indian Muslim takeover. But you, an alleged high IQ, is saying in 600 years, and you know that white is actually a genetic mutation. You do realize that, right? And your birth rates are on the floor, which is why you guys keep adopting a bunch of people into whiteness. They didn't want Irish people to be white. They didn't want Italian people to be white. They definitely didn't want Palestinians, Egyptians, Lebanese people to be white. But guess what? All of those people are legally and socially classified as white. Why are they classified as white? Because your birth rates are tanking. So what you're doing is trying to adopt more people into whiteness. Mexican, there's no race called Mexican, but you adopted Mexicans into whiteness. That's why you got dweebs and dorks and maniac midgets like Nick Fuentes claiming to be an ethnic Mexican who's white. So yeah, if you guys are the whole planet is gonna be white in 600 years, put the tiny violin down because nobody wants to hear you guys whine.
Cute to call ourselves black. No, we didn't. But what we had to do was transcend it and flip the meaning to reclaim our dignity. Because the more you fight these people, the more they double down.
And where is the dude at? Vinny, where you at, Vinny? I'll drop the link for you, Vinny. Don't just be whining in the chat, man. We want to hear you bring some stuff up. But I see Big Rig has slid through. So shout out to Big Rig, Rain 2315, and all of the people viewing this concurrently. Hey, if you got a disagreement, voice it in the chat. You know, we can have an open dialogue.
And in this video, he mentioned a white woman. Now, white people are trying to act all brand new, you know, trying to make it seem like Black Americans are the problem. Okay, you believe much of that as you want to.
With all, due respect and empathy, I say this, I assume is because Black Americans.
Bro, what the fuck are you talking about? We're talking about we need more white babies and you're talking about mice? Okay.
Identify as Black Americans only, and they want everyone to identify as such. But you're forcing people to lose their identity and identify as Black people, which is completely wrong.
All right, y'all, I'm gonna play the video back, but Corey, you're clearly trolling or you're just intellectually deficient. He says he wants more Black people, get some sun. Just because you get tan doesn't mean you're Black. Donald Trump is tan. Technically, he's not white, which is why they call him the orange man, right? So was Donald Trump not white because he has a tan? Black people always get sun. Realistically, we are one of the only groups that can take the sun. That's why you guys get a lot of those skin cancers and things like that. So you can't even take the sun, right? We can be in the sun without being heavily wrapped up. So I don't get what you're trying to say. Everyone should be getting sun, but what are you saying? Because this is a idiotic, imbecilic comment. Because just because you get a tan, it doesn't make you Black. And we've been joined by none other than Azure, Nimble, Nimbus, ANN. What it do, my friend? Corey, if we're all going to be white eventually, then what's with the trolling? Why are you here? And that's kind of the point that I was saying. They're going on platform after platform, whining, talking about their birth rates, talking about trans and sports, talking about everything except for what's affecting them. And guess who's in control of all of these things? Guess who's in control of AI? Guess who's in control of the military, in control of Congress, in control of pulling the levers for immigration and open borders? It's all people that look like them, but instead they'll blame some poor, powerless thug from Oakland and say, well, this is the root of all the problems, right? They barely mention Peter Thiel, Larry Ellison, Miriam Addison, AIPAC, Chamber of Commerce, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Raytheon. They don't mention those, but they will keep talking about, and Blacks do this and Blacks do that. As if some low IQ thug in Oakland who actually got locked up and is being held accountable by the police and the judicial system, they're being held accountable. Who's holding Peter Thiel accountable? Who's holding Elon Musk accountable? You know what? These people don't care. And Elon Musk don't care about you. Elon Musk is trying to replace the whites with H-1B visas that look like Vivek racist Swami. But you still over here blaming. It's because of the Blacks and it's because of wokeness and BLM. They still blaming George Floyd. How long has George Floyd been unalived? They have more issues with George Floyd, who's in the ground, than Peter Thiel, who's surveilling them at every turn of their life. How cowardly is that?
Again, lack of education, man.
They offered me $3,000 for my minor accident. This Harvard AI calculator showed.
I think that, trying to make.
I'm gonna rewind it back, but this dude said this again. So here's this Somali tether keep talking about a lack of education, bro. You don't want to go wit for wit, intellect for intellect with us. And if he has such high IQ, bro, why are you in Somalia making Somalia great again? Instead, he's here wagging his finger at us, telling us we don't have enough education. Clearly, you don't have enough education. And that's why you're on the hot seat right now. And people like this, yeah, we're not going to cape for more immigrants like this. He's throwing little subtle shots to try to make it seem like, oh, I'm just breaking down something that you guys don't understand. And it's a lack of education. No, there's a lack of appreciation for you guys. From you guys. You guys come over here and think everything should just be given to you. You think that scamming is life because that's how it is back in your homeland. Your homeland is a failed state. Your homeland is corrupt. I'm sure there are a bunch of great people there. Those great people are subject to the political incompetence and impotence of their leaders. Instead of him talking about how Somalia is a failed state, he's over here whining to FBAs and saying, oh, it's just a lack of education. Okay. I mean, are you producing a bunch of Rhodes Scholars coming out of Somalia in the current conditions? No, there's famine over there. There's all sorts of insurgent gangs over there, smacking them up over the head, beating them up with bamboo sticks, beating them down with bushmeat legs. I'm just saying, bro, like you're not in a position to be wagging your fingers or giving us any advice. You need to go and make Somalia great again.
It seemed like Black Americans are the problem. Okay, you believe much of that as you want to.
With all due respect and empathy, I say this I assume is because Black Americans identify as Black Americans only, and they want everyone to identify as such. But you're forcing people to.
Bruh, we're not forcing you to do anything, bruh. What we're saying is, and you see what he's saying? You're forcing us to identify as Black. So when we've been saying that these other people don't identify as Black, you have him right here saying you guys are trying to force us to identify as Black. If he's alleging that we're trying to force them, that would mean that they don't identify as Black. And before, I do concur, not all, but some were trying to say, bro, you tripping. You talking about you Arab, you Muslim, man, you Black, you Black like us. Now people are saying, you know what? We're late to the delineation party. You're actually not Black. You're Arab, Muslim, and Somali, and you can deal with that. And then now they want to still maintain their ethnic sovereignty of identifying as not Black, except they want Blacks to like crash out for them. But no. Have the Muslims crash out for you. Have the Arabs crash out for you. Could anyone point me to a video of a prominent or just even a low-level Arab content creator speaking up for them? They're not. They're telling them to hold your own nuts because you're not like us. And the only people that they are really expecting to speak up for them are Black people. No, the white people in Minnesota should be the ones crashing out for you, because they are the ones who imported you. They brought them there to displace the native Black population. They thought that they would be dealing with some model minority Somalis, and many of them, not all, but many of them came over here to finesse the system to the tune of billions of dollars. Some saying that fraud in Minnesota, which was not all the Somalis, most of it was not the Somalis, but the Somalis are allowing themselves to be the doormat and the patsy for this. Instead of them calling out the non-Black people, the W people who help facilitate this, they're trying to get FBAs to crash out for them and help them. No, y'all need to expose all of those W people that helped you get off of this elaborate plot. They're saying it's up to 8 to 9 billions, the total scale of the fraud. Meanwhile, they want you to say some musty, crusty, dusty nigga in St. Louis that sold what? A half ounce of weed? That's somehow Black culture. But them doing scams to the tunes of billions of dollars is not Somali culture. It's not democratic or the white Minnesotans culture. That's not their culture. It's just oopsie daisy, it was a mix up. No, this was a very meticulous, elaborate plot. That sounds like culture. A lot of people were involved in that. Who raised these people that did that? Who raised Tim Walz? Who raised Ilhan Omar?
Lose their identity and identify as Black people, which is completely wrong. Again, lack of education, man.
Now, I think this is where the misunderstanding is coming in. I don't think that all Black Americans are insisting that they call themselves Black. And when they explain that we don't call ourselves Black in Africa because we identify as tribes, that is not.
Yeah, I never let him off that hook. So Roger says, saying that Blacks of different tribes in Africa sold our ancestor into slavery doesn't exonerate nor let us off the hook for their participation in the picking of cotton that built the wealth of us. So this is the whole thing too, bruh. If you say slavery and take it as to something else, right? If somebody said, hey, look, this family member was molesting another family member, and that's why I molested that family member, because the family was already doing it. So, I mean, it just is what it is. People will say, man, hell no, that's unacceptable. That's disgusting. And that's grotesque. But what they try to do is say, hey, well, y'all sold each other into slavery, so that's why we enslaved it. Bruh. What happened to personal responsibility? There was no gun forced to your head to enslave people. And it wasn't just enslaving people. It was enslaving people, raping people, buck breaking, torturing, sodomy. It just goes on and on and on. It's all under the banner of enslavement. So enslavement is inherent dehumanization. So once you're dehumanizing someone, you're willing to do stuff like lynching them, chopping off limbs, chopping off genitals. You know what I mean? Watching people have sexual intercourse with their own mother, doing all of this homoerotic stuff, right? No one was forced to do that, right? Imagine saying Thomas Jefferson only raped his slaves because some Africans sold them. If the Africans didn't sell the slaves, then Thomas Jefferson wouldn't have raped his slaves. Thomas Jefferson only owned over 600 slaves because the Africans sold it to him. So imagine me and I got 600 pounds of fentanyl. I only sold the fentanyl because this white dude sold it to me. If he didn't sell it to me, then I wouldn't be a drug dealer. People are going to be like, nah, man, you got to take responsibility. You weren't forced to buy those drugs and sell them, right? You weren't forced to buy people as chattel slaves and then put them to work and have them build the greatest nation in history, right? You're not off the hook. So on one hand, they'll say, you guys were slaves. Okay, cool. We can hold that. We were slaves, but wouldn't that make you part of the slave masters? So you want us to own up to us being slaves, but you don't want to own up to being a slave master. And then when you own up to be a slave master, then we have to go and detail what you did, because we can go and detail what we did, whether it's rice, tobacco, cotton, etc. Building the White House. We can go and detail what we did as slaves. Why won't you tell us in detail what you did as a slave master? And this is another thing of this white cultural tethering, where people will come. You guys were fleeing famine, feudalism, failure, filth. In Europe, they were drinking urine, getting urine imported as mouthwash. Many of them weren't even bathing. So many of you descend from peasants. A lot of you got, because what do they always try to say? Oh, it was a small percent of whites that owned slaves. Okay, cool. So if you weren't of that elite oligarchic slave owning class, that means you were a peasant. So peasants were actually lower than slaves. In a social sense, they put a premium on whiteness. So based on the social caste system, you were above slaves. But in terms of value, you were below slaves. Right now, if you were on a plantation, what would be more valuable? A black slave or a dirty, dingy, mangy immigrant, peasant? Yeah, people were choosing the slaves. They didn't say people fleeing famine built the White House. It was formerly enslaved people who built the White House. We must always remember to tie slavery to cotton. U.S. was the Saudi Arabia of cotton in the 19th century. We were King Cotton and built the wealth of Wall Street as Wall Street and open slave auction. Well, there is a reason why the saying said, cotton is king. However, if you are going to bring up the cotton, you got to bring up a lot of the other stuff as well, the rice, tobacco, and many of the other infrastructure, architectural designs that we did as well. So some people will try to limit it as cotton. Another trope that they like to say, you guys were just farm equipment. So think about this. They'll call us lazy and then they'll call us farm equipment. So if we were just farm equipment, why didn't your ancestors get off their fat, disgusting, lazy behinds and build? So doesn't that seem lazy? We were just farm equipment. All of the stuff that we did was so allegedly easy, but yet you didn't do it. Imagine that I say, hey, could you make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? That's pretty easy to do, right? But you don't want to make it yourself. So you're going to have your slave make it yourself. And then you're going to call them lazy when you couldn't even do something as easy as making yourself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's what cotton was so easy. Okay, why didn't you do this easy job? And then they'll turn around and say, well, we had slaves. Okay, so not only were you lazy, you were pretty insidious as well. And then if you think slavery was a good thing, then, hey, I mean, let's just enslave a bunch of white people because at least they're not lazy and they're high IQ. They would be ideal slaves, right? I mean, since slavery is such a great thing, it's not just the government who owes us, it's Wall Street also. Yeah, and that's why Jason Blacks talk about reparations across the board. And he says, check the DM. I will try to. Let me play a little bit more of the video and I'll try to check that. And he says, they will never give up the YTs. They worship them. Exactly. So how are we supposed to really build a coalition? We're challenging the W's and they are up, not just getting buck broken. They're voluntarily pulling their pants down and spreading the cheeks. They're pulling their pants down, bending over and spreading the cheeks and saying, here, buck break me with no lube. And then we're supposed to ally with these people? I think not. And it's not because of us. I mean, we will ally with anyone. It's just people don't want to ally with us. So that's why we say, you don't want to ally with us? Fine. Hold your own nuts.
Hard for Black Americans to understand. I think this is where the misunderstanding is coming in. I don't think that all Black Americans are insisting that they call themselves Black. And when they explain that we don't call ourselves Black in Africa because we identify as tribes, that is not hard for Black Americans to understand at all. It's all the other stuff that goes along with you saying you're not Black, as if you think that that makes you something special or different, or in some cases superior. As the Nigerian woman said, she felt like she was superior to Black Americans. That's where the problem is coming in. It's the attitude that you're bringing and the behavior that many Black Americans are seeing. Now, I've said that I lived among the Somali people and I liked them. I didn't see anything wrong with them, but other Black Americans have a different experience. But many of the Africans come here with the attitude, no, I'm not Black. And they want to twerk their asses up in the faces of white people to say that, as if to say, I'm not like those Black Americans. I'm better than those Black Americans. That's where the problem is coming in. Nobody cares if you don't call yourselves Black. We know you're Somali. We know you're Nigerian. We know you're Ghanaians. We know you're Kenyans. We don't have a problem with that. Most of us don't. Now, there are Black Americans who have problems just like everybody else. But the main body of Black Americans do not have a problem with that. It's the attitude. And there's also a problem with immigrants coming from Caribbean and African getting in political positions and trying to undermine Black Americans.
Bingo. And there's only a few minutes left of this, but we've been joined by the 504 boy, Wode Braxton, in the building. And like she said, we not really tripping how y'all identify. We, Lightweight, was trying to do y'all a favor and saying, look, man, we know y'all Arab, Muslim, whatever y'all identify, but over here, this is the land of the one drop rule, which I'm against, but you know, society adheres to it. So this is the land of the one drop rule. Over here, you black. So we try to ingratiate ourselves to these other groups when it should have been the other way around. Now they're saying, well, we don't want to lose our identity. So then we're saying, okay, so what you're saying is your identity is something other than what we're representing, what we're promulgating. And we say, you know what? That is okay. So then if they win an award, that's an award for Somalis. Once they do scam to the tune of billions, that falls on Somalis, not blacks, not people of color, minorities, marginalized groups, on Somali. See, delineation is a beautiful thing because it allows people to be held accountable. And it allows people to highlight their actual achievements. So y'all know who Usain Bolt is, right? He's Jamaican. Once he broke the world record, that record should be upheld. It should be commemorated for Jamaica. It shouldn't be wrapped up into just the whole flat blackness, global Negro thing. Yeah, you can say Usain Bolt is a black man, but that's minimizing that achievement, that historical achievement. Jamaica should be proud of that, right? We should make sure that this is revered as a Jamaican accomplishment. And all we're saying is let's just do that across the board. Me saying that Usain Bolt should, you know, uphold and uplift Jamaican excellence once he wins a title, right? That's across the board, whether he was Haitian, whether he was from Congo, whether he was from Morocco. So people will understand that in a cultural sense. But then when we say, hey, look, we want to hold on to our cultural accomplishments. We don't want everything being wrapped up in saying, oh, well, you got that from Africa, because it's contradictory. You say that we don't know who we are, and then you turn around and say, oh, yeah, you got that from Africa. How could I get it from a place that didn't even exist when I created this? How can I get it from a place that I don't even know? Don't speak the language, we don't wear any African garb or know anything about the tribes, traditions, and customs. We created our own tribe. We created our own heritage, our own culture, right? Our own colloquial sense of being in this country, which is our homeland. And whenever we create it, everybody else wants to come and take a pic of it. We create hip hop, and Latinos like, we was there, right? Many people went to the Super Bowl, right? You were there. Did you win the Super Bowl because you were there? So many people were saying, oh, well, there was an African drum in some distant African land 100 years ago. So because of that African drum, hip hop actually started in Africa. Huh? That doesn't even make any sense. So think of it like this, right? Imagine me saying, hey, tacos and burritos, you know, started in my house. So when you come to my house, you should be able to have some of the best tacos, the best burritos, that authentico, because I'm saying, hey, this is where it originates from, right? But then if I can't say, I can't even really cook tacos, I can't even really make burritos, how could you say that it originated there? So let me draw that metaphor and correlate it to the hip hop, right? If they're saying they created hip hop, who is the African version or the Caribbean version of Tupac, of Kendrick, of Snoop, of Dr. Dre? I mean, there's a bunch of white Africans over there now too, right? Who's the white African version of Eminem? So kind of back to the taco analogy, right? If you go to Mexico or wherever the heart of making burritos and tacos, you expect to get a very good taco there, a very good burrito there. If hip hop allegedly started in the Caribbean or Africa, you should be able to go there and find a thriving hip hop community, find people that are way better than what Tupac was talking about, but instead you can't. And all the people you find, they're acting like us. We're not acting like them. Shout out to dashikis, even though a bunch of Europeans, they're the ones who own the manufacturing of dashikis. I've never worn a dashiki. When you look at Burner Boy, does Burner Boy dress Nigerian or is he dressing like FBAs over here? So we are the cultural standard. We are the global influence. And that's not to be very pompous or arrogant. It just is what it is. We're not trying to emulate people. We're not trying to have a movement of wearing kente cloth and dashikis. Nothing against them. That's just not part of our culture. And to try to act like it is just for the sake of leeching and tethering us to Africa is just inaccurate and also asinine. But let's just finish up a little bit of this video. And I got one more video to play and we'll shut her down.
That's a problem. So the problem is not also a problem with immigrants coming from Caribbean and African getting in political positions and trying to undermine Black Americans. That's a problem. So the problem is not just saying you don't call yourselves Black. The problem is what you're doing here, how you're behaving and your attitude.
But yeah, you know, each to their own. You know, to be honest, for me, what this shows is that these people already had this hatred in their heart and they needed a reason. You know, they needed a reason, and that orange peel has given them a good reason to spew their hate. And yeah, man, but you know.
So here we go. So he already said that we have an educational issue twice. So he took 2 shots. And now he's trying to say, oh, well, these people always hated us and this was just a reason to hate. How was someone saying hold your own nuts hate? How was somebody pointing out the scams that you did hate? Many of them, they have their Muslim imam saying that the majority of Black people don't know who their father is. They have Elon Musk meeting with other Somalis saying how they're going to try to displace Black people's political power in Minnesota. That sounds like hatred. Someone saying fight your own battles. How is that hatred? You guys are always talking about that you're not a victim. You're the model minorities. We ain't like those FBAs. Okay, you're right. You're not like us. So since you're not like us, go fight your own battle. We'll handle our business over here because they always got all of the negative stereotypes. You guys are at the bottom. You're failing. You know what? We are failing. That means we can't be helping you. We need to be fixing our own stuff and figuring out how not to fail. So why the hell will we be helping you? You guys are doing all right, right? You guys allegedly have a superior culture and, you know, community cohesion. So you'll be fine. We need to go worry about how we can clean up the dysfunction in our community. So we don't have time to be caping for any other group. Hold your own nuts. That's not hate. This just saying fight your own battles. You're a man, right? Shouldn't you want to fight your own battles? You're a Somali. Shouldn't you want to stand up and protect your community? You don't need us to fight for you. Go get the Arabs and Muslims to cape for you.
Like I said, don't dig the grave too far because you may well fall into it. But yeah, peace.
I believe he's overstating the case because I don't think Black Americans as a whole hate Somalis. That is not.
Yes, I know my algorithm is being suppressed. If you can tell me exactly how it's being suppressed and, you know, add some kind of scientific strategy as to why. But yeah, so when you come over here, this is the Chitlin circuit. You know, I'm going to be talking in a more inflammatory way than many of your larger content creators because many of them are monetized. So they have to say things to maintain their ad revenue. And also they want to ingratiate themselves with other content creators. Me, this is the Chitlin circuit. So, you know, I'm not monetized. So, you know, I will speak a little bit more abrasive, but maybe if y'all share me out and support me a little bit more, maybe that will mitigate or overcome the algorithm being suppressed. But anytime you're standing on FBA lineage business, but business where you're calling out the corporate power structure and the political establishment, then yeah, it's going to be suppressed. Now, if I was making fight videos and talking about Black on Black crime and degenerate and Black people need to do this and doing gender war content, I probably would have at least 2K subs right now. But I'm not willing to sell out my integrity. I'm not that broke and desperate that I need to sell out my community just for clicks. Now, some of that stuff is entertainment. entertaining. And I think some of those heated discussions are okay, but many of them are not being done in a constructive manner. They're only being done in a clickbaity manner. So I get it. Some of y'all are struggling. You don't have anything going for you. You don't have any skills or acumen. So you need a lot of drama so that you can get the clicks. And then you have to kind of, they say don't feed the trolls, but you have to continuously feed the trolls. Once you imagine Jerry Springer, right? When Jerry Springer was making that degenerate content, actually, no one was calling him degenerate. He wasn't forced to make that content. He chose to make that content, right? But Jerry Springer couldn't pivot from making that degenerate content to making something that's more political or something that's going to unite people. He had to continuously feed the bees. He started off degenerate. He has to end off degenerate. So when people are making this disgusting content, the anti-Black content, they have to continue to make that content to feed their trolls, to feed the incels. Otherwise, they'll lose a lot of subs. They'll lose their livelihood and they'll go back to being incel homosexual. So thankfully, my life is not like that, and I don't rely on this channel for any money, although I would like to get monetized someday. So, I'm always open if you want to send your boy a contribution. But yeah, I'm going to just use the time that I have to speak and say what others refuse to say.
The case, most of us don't come into contact with Somalis. They forget that we are a very large ethnic group in America, and we don't all think the same, and we don't feel the same about everybody. So I believe he's overstating the case. We don't hate them. This young man seems sincere, and he seems well-meaning. But what about this?
Most of the people that we meet, especially African Americans, they don't even know their fathers. They don't even know their fathers. It was all of them, most of.
So look how many people was in there. So he's talking to a bunch of Somalis saying that Black Americans don't know their fathers. And let's just say that we did know our fathers. Why the fuck does this dude care? This dude is a tether. Bro, you're over here in our homeland. Look at these dudes over here. None of them are in their homeland. None of them are doing anything to fight for Somalia. They come over here, and instead of talking about the disgusting corruption that's going on in their homeland, they're talking about Black Americans don't know their dad. If you look at So now, since they want to say that, then look at what Trump said. Trump said the Somalis in Minnesota, he said 90% of them are on welfare. So while they're over here worried about what Black Americans are or aren't doing, why are you not worried about the exorbitant welfare rate in your community? They're scamming American taxpayers to the tune of billions of dollars. They're being slapped around by Arabs in their own homeland. And when they come over here, they're not speaking about any of that stuff. They're blaming the people who didn't do any of that to them. Let's just say we didn't have our fathers. How does that help the corruption in their homeland? How does that help the female vagina mutilation? How disgusting of a person do you have to be, an individual, to want to? I mean, everybody I know, they like coochie, you know what I mean? They like going inside coochie, going around coochie, licking coochie. They don't think about mutilating the coochie. But in this community, they do. Don't take my word for it. Type in Somalia and type in female vagina mutilation. And here he is talking about, you guys don't know your dad. Like, well, a lot of you guys who raised these dudes, right? They know that they allegedly know their dad, right? You know your dad and you didn't fight in your homeland. Instead of you and your dad getting with other men to fight, you fled. So you're going to come over here to my homeland where my ancestors built, and you want to talk about you don't know your father. You know your father and you fled like a coward. Is that the hill you want to die on?
Them were the product of one night stand. They don't even know their fathers. It was all of them, most of them were the product of one night stand. One night stand. They will tell you, I don't know my father. Well, who named you? Whose name are you carrying? Well, my mother chose his name for me. And I don't know. Is that what we want for our ummah?
I don't know where he got this information from. It's entirely possible that a Black person did say that to a Somali person, and he has turned that around to make it about all Black people. Well, one thing I can say about Black American men, they're not on the internet crying because 70-year-old Black men can't marry 10-year-old girls. Well, at least we have that going for ourselves, mister. I think it's a question that needs to be asked about Black American.
And I just brought up the female vagina mutilation, and Lady Boulay talks about, yeah, a lot of those places, their age of consent is 10 years old. So you can be 50 years old with a 10-year-old, 60 years old with a 10-year-old, 70-year-old with a 10-year-old, and it's perfectly legal. And this is not the only place. They had it in Japan too. Their age of consent was 10. They moved it up to the age of 13. So then you can be 60 years old with a 13-year-old. You can be 80 years old with a 13-year-old legally. This is their culture. They won't address this, but they'll say, you guys don't know who your father is. Okay. And you were laid up with a 10-year-old. I mean, how could you even compare the two?
Because can we get along?
Okay, so that was enough of that one. I got one more video, and then I'm going to go ahead and shut her down. But yeah, this is the lovely Lady Boulay, and she's not a conservative. I believe she's a Democrat. I know she didn't really like Kamala Harris, but I think she voted for her reluctantly. So, yeah, this is an OG perspective, and this is not no far right-wing perspective. So Jay says just so they can reproduce. I'm not sure exactly who. And yeah, this is definitely Auntie Boulay. So shout out to Auntie. Repeating the propaganda that has been taught to them to unite their people to be against Black Americans. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So I say, fine. All slurs matter. All slander matter. Y'all can use all of the stereotypical tropes against us, but then in turn, we got to use them against y'all, right? We got to look at all of y'all as that Somali pirate on Captain Phillips, right? We have to look at y'all, all of y'all as scammers. We have to look at all of y'all as people who like to lay up with 10-year-olds and like to do female vagina mutilation, right? Let's just all discriminate and stereotype. See, we'll hold our stereotype. We're low IQ sub-Saharan monkeys who love watermelon and fried chicken. Okay, fine. We're eating fried chicken with Crystal's hot sauce, and you're eating lemon peppered lizard legs, lemon peppered leopard legs. You're eating hippopotamus hush puppies. We're not the same. And Braxton says, I'll be surprised if a number of them knows their age. Because again, no birth certificates. Yes, many of these places, they haven't been keeping very stringent, rigorous records, right? That's why many of them say, hey, their birthday is going to be on January 1st. They didn't know what their birthday was. So, fine, we'll just pick January 1st. So we're not the group that you want to roast. If you want some smoke, you will get smoked. If you want to roast, you will get roasted. We ain't the ones to play with. So I'm going to play one more video, and then we going to shut her down because, a brother got to eat. But, depending on how I'm feeling and how the chat is responding, I might even come back with another late night banger. But, that's all up in the air. So let me just find this last video, and here we go right here.
Hey, if money is tight right now and
But salute to everybody that's viewing this concurrently. Y'all can be anywhere in the world. Y'all chose to be here with me. I sincerely thank you for that.
Are having separation anxiety. Obviously, I'm not talking about all of them, but too many of them seem to be dealing with this disorder. The clinical... And
you guys let me know if you can hear this in the chat. So this other video is called Black Americans Do Not Center Africa in Their Lives. Now, look, I know a lot of people always want us looking to build this utopia of a Wakanda, but on our day-to-day lives, we're not thinking about Africa or Africans. That's just our reality. And why would we, right? Because people are always talking about what's going on here. When they say, oh, what about Chicago? They're not saying, what about the Congo? When they're saying, what about Oakland? They're not saying, what about Morocco? So if you guys are constantly whining about Chicago, Baltimore, Oakland, St. Louis, why would I be fixated on Angola and Senegal and Chad and Sudan, right? You're not talking about those places, even though you should, right? We need to fix what's happening here. When they say, hey, look, the plane is about to crash, they say put the mask on yourself first so you have enough air, oxygen, energy, vitality to even think about saving someone else. That's how it is with us. We need to put that mask on here. We need to clean up our own house, prepare our own, combat our own dysfunction, continue to enfranchise and enrich ourselves. We need to do that here. And then we can reach out to the other global diaspora or global solidarity with other groups. But we have to clean up our own house first. That's what every other group is doing. But all these other groups, their ascension is reliant on our dysfunction. So they want to keep us at the bottom. They don't want us working together in a constructive manner. They don't want us practicing group economics. They don't want us discriminating like they do. And in order for us to truly empower and enrich ourselves, discrimination, sacrifice is going to be required. So let me use a simple example, right? Ladies, look, if you look good, you don't look good because of those nails and claws. So you can look good without those claws. So stop going to that Asian nail person. Stop going. I can guarantee you the dudes will still hit on you. The dudes will still want to slide inside that ooey gooey box. They ain't going to be like, oh, man, I would have hit that if she would have had her nails done. Get a nail file, clip your own nails, go on YouTube, go on Pinterest, and do your own nail designs. And then if it's a special occasion, get your nails done. How much money would you be saving for your family, your future, and your community if you just didn't do that? And that's just one thing. That's just one thing. They say don't shop where you won't get hired. You're not going to get hired in those nail shops, but you be there every chance you can get. Oh, because they massage my feet. You can get a bunch of simp niggas to do that. You can get some simp niggas to massage your feet. I mean, shit. With all of the money you save by not going there, shit, you can probably train a simp to do your nails for you. So if we're talking about group economics and empowerment, these are just like little simple sacrifices that you can start. Same thing with the dudes, right? I say don't buy no brand names, brand your name. Many people are trying to make some other dude's name popular. You're making Tommy Hilfiger's name popular, Calvin Klein, Michael Kors, Vera Wang, Versace, Gucci, all someone else's name, but people don't even have no pride in their name. You've been using an alias so long that you damn near forgot your own name, but you quick to pop your collar to somebody else's name. Brand your own name. Start looking at those tags. You'll see it ain't made in America. They're made in China, Malaysia, Mexico, or whatever. You can buy that same fabric. I mean, if you don't got no creative skills, use AI to create some sort of design for you. Press up your own shirts. So now when people see you on a shirt or anything, it's exclusive. Your name is branded. Your brand is branded. So just little things like that. And then we recycling the money. We're building infrastructure. These are little things that we can do just to sacrifice, but also enrich our communities. So let me get into this video of Black Americans do not center Africa in their lives.
Meaning for separation anxiety is the fear or distress of being away from an attachment figure that is developmentally inappropriate, excessive, and persistent. When it reaches this level, it is diagnosed as separation anxiety. It is anxiety that is out of proportion to the situation and the person's developmental stage. It's the same anxiety you see in young children when they're separated from their parents, when they have to go to stay at grandma's for the weekend, or when they have to go to school. It's also the same anxiety you feel when you leave home for the first time and go to college or the military or somewhere for a job. I absolutely experienced it when.
So Braxton says, what about Nairobi, Abuja, and Cape Town? Well, you're saying what about them? But what about them? Could you elaborate? And Roger sent me a video. I will play it after this video and then I'll shut her down.
I went to college because I had never been away from my family before. But you suffer this anxiety when you're separated from a figure or a community that you're attached to. Now, why am I saying this about Africans? Because they seem to be having a problem detaching themselves from the idea that Black Americans are Africans. Under the banner of we're all Black, they've been able to come to a first world country, attach them.
And it's crazy because when you go to Africa, they don't consider you African. They consider you American. But then when we stand on and say, yeah, we are American, this is our homeland, you don't know who you are. You don't know where you're from. Yeah, I know exactly who I am and where I'm from. So, and there's a difference between having some sort of African genetics and being a continental cultural African. We're definitely not that. Many Europeans have African genetics and ancestry. Does that make them African? No.
Themselves to the struggles and the accomplishments of people who are historically established in this country, and they've been able to thrive under that banner.
And peep the wording that Lady Boulay used. She said that we are historically established, and this is where people get pissed. Like right now, what they're doing, the whole 14th Amendment, and Trump was saying that was for the babies of slaves, and then to be anti-Black, they tried to come and reverse it and say it was for all free persons subject to the jurisdiction of and all that type of stuff. But the initial reasoning for that was, hey, look, man, we've had these formerly enslaved people here. Yeah, we're treating them as subhuman, less than human, but man, they put in a lot of work, man. We can't justify our Christian bona fides and not grant them citizenship. And that's where the whole separate but equal comes in, where it's like, well, we will grant them citizenship, but we need to keep them separate. But yeah, they'll be equal. And they thought in theory that will just show our inferiority. But once they kept us separate, we were actually thriving more than them. So that's why they burnt our stuff down and they wanted to integrate, because the separate but equal, we were really thriving. And we still have that now. I wish we would lean into more of that, right? Because now people want to act like, no, I'm against segregation, and anybody that talks about segregation is bigoted. But then you go to these ethnic enclaves and guess what? It's segregated. Mexicans ain't trying to live next to Black people. Mexicans don't even want to live next to El Salvadorians, and they're both Hispanic, Latino, right? So do Chinese people want Koreans infringing on Chinatown? Why isn't it a China/Koreatown? No, they're saying Chinatown is here and y'all better have that Koreatown somewhere over there. Why are they not together? They're both Asians, right? So every other group wants to have their own ethnic enclaves, be separate but treated equal. So then when we say, hey, well, let's have our own ethnic enclave, we want to be treated equal, but yeah, let's just separate. Let's separate from the Africans, Caribbeans, all of the so-called people of color. Let's just separate, but be equal. They'll start saying that you sound like a bigot, but that's what all these other groups are doing. That's how you're able to have a little Cuba, a little Havana, a little Haiti, a little Somali town, because they're separated. Dearborn, Michigan, they're separated, right? Like if you go live in Dearborn, Michigan, yeah, they say, oh, well, it's a huge Muslim population. Yes, a huge Muslim Arab population, but it's like, it's not a bunch of Black Muslims living over there. There's no race called Muslim. There's no race called Arab. So why are they not recruiting and welcoming more Black Muslims? For some reason, they only want these Asiatic Muslims who look like Vivek Ramaswamy. But I mean, does that sound like unity to you? It's not a ringing endorsement for Muslims.
And now there is a separation. For decades, Black Americans have observed behavior from these immigrants that's considered disrespectful and arrogant. There has been no course correction. In fact, the behavior has gotten worse. Not to say that it's all of them, but it's enough of them doing it for it to be a problem. So carrying people like this around as parasites is of no benefit to us.
Correct. So this is where people try to say, well, it's not all of them. And Roger, I don't know if you in the chat, but I told him this analogy, right? When people say not all, that's just an irrelevant red herring, because it doesn't matter if it's all. It matters if it's a problematic and a significant amount to make you think otherwise. So let's say I give you a pizza, right? Whatever your favorite pizza is, it's the stuffed crust pizza with the pepperoni, the bell peppers, the onion, the cheese. It's just ooey gooey. This is the most delicious pizza that you've ever seen and smelled. But there's only one issue. There's a turd on there. Are you still going to eat that pizza? Like I told you, there's a turd on there, but there's not a turd on all of the pizza. It's just only on one slice of the pizza. Are you going to take that turd off that slice, throw the slice away, and continue to eat the pizza? Or are you going to say, nah, hell no, I'm throwing this whole pizza away. It was a turd on there. But not all of the pizza was covered by a turd. Now think about that in this metaphorical sense that I just broke it down. When people say, not all these groups are acting like that, not all the immigrants are acting like that. Yeah, but there's still a turd there, right? So once I remove the turd, did that make the pizza better, right? So once you remove these people that was acting like that, you still don't want to eat the pizza. You want to throw it away and just say, hey, let's just make a whole new pizza. So when all of these people are saying not all, yeah, how about we just throw this fake coalition away and then we'll just build something from the ground up. But what we're building from the ground up, we calling everything out moving. If y'all got an issue with us, call it out. Lay everything out vividly and we can have an exchange. But we're throwing this pizza out. The pizza looks delicious. It smells delicious. But yeah, man, that turd, I kind of lost my appetite. So I'm going to throw that away. Yeah, y'all sound like y'all may be a solid group to build a coalition with. But yeah, man, a lot of the tethers made me lose my appetite. So I'm just scrapping this relationship, this situationship, and let's just start anew. We can do that, right? Just like the pizza, right? You can throw that pizza away. You have the resources to start from scratch and make a better pizza. We have the resources, the cultural clout, acumen. We should have the camaraderie to start from scratch and build from the ground up. But, hey, I'm not eating no pizza with no turd on it.
And that's why delineation is necessary. We acknowledge that we are African descended. We are not attached to the African continent, and we do not center our lives in anything to do with Africa or Africans. But Africans do seem to spend a lot of extra time on these social media platforms trying to drag Black Americans back across the Atlantic Ocean and planting us in some kind of African identity. And here's what I'm talking about.
A CRM shouldn't weigh your budget down. It should lift your teams up. A CRM shouldn't hide fees. It should save you money. A CRM shouldn't slam you with add-ons. It should work with the tools you need.
Where you from, my guy?
Hey, and hold on, man. You know what, bruh? I gotta give a shout out, bruh. So, Shabazz, I'm not sure exactly who Shabazz is. Shabazz just hit me on the Cash App, and I'm extremely grateful I'm extremely touched, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even monetized, so I'm just doing this stuff just to enlighten my people, to connect with my people. So any contribution, you know, I sincerely appreciate that. You know what I mean? So Shabazz, man, if you in the chat, drop something in the chat right now so I can definitely mod you up. But that was heartfelt. So I sincerely appreciate that. Also, I know Sincere, Ronnie Q, Sophisticated Jerk, they hit me on the Cash App as well. And, you know, I really appreciate that. And just for those others, you know, that if y'all did want to make a contribution.
Don't you think it's about time you gave me my money? I need cash. Please send that money. Please send that money. Please send that money. I need cash. Want my money. I need cash. Want my money.
Yeah, so like I said, anything from $1 to $1 million will surely suffice. But Shabazz is definitely goated. I wasn't even expecting that. I'm just over here rocking out. I don't even think I had dropped my Cash App, you know what I mean? So I don't even know where you got that from, Shabazz, but appreciate you. And it says, mistake you for what? What is that flag? I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about or who you talking about, but let me play the video and get some clarity on what you're saying.
Time on these social media platforms trying to drag Black Americans back across the Atlantic Ocean and planting us in some kind of African identity. And here's what I'm talking about.
Where you from, my guy? Say word, what part? Copy. But where you and your family really from? Yeah. Nah, my family has been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. Interesting. Nah, I thought you was like Caribbean, bro.
This is an instance of the disrespect. Black Americans shouldn't have to continue going through stuff like this. Engaging with Africans on social media can be tricky because it's entirely possible.
Okay, yeah, I think you were talking about on the photo. This person, I think he was showing that in New York because they're, you know, New York has a heavy immigrant population. So people like to fly their flags and stuff. But then if somebody says, hey, go back to that country where you're flying your flag from, which I don't think people should just be randomly saying that. But sometimes people do things that warrant that, right? Whether they're scamming, whether they talking down. And sometimes it's just a way to, you know, be a little bit inflammatory with the language. Some people are not truly pushing for them to go back. But yeah, if you're wagging your fingers and saying, you know, death to America, and you have a flag and people are like, okay, well, if you hate America so much, then go back over there. Then people, they start whining. That xenophobia is like, okay, but you saying death to America is not xenophobic, but me saying go back to the homeland that you love somehow is xenophobic. Make that make sense.
But even likely that you're going to end up in a conversation like this. Where are you from? Well, you're from the United States of America, or you're from Alabama the Beautiful. And that's an answer that they don't seem to want to accept.
And RIP to the late, great Isaiah Whitlock Jr. Apparently, he was unalived. He was somebody from the show Wire, which you never watched. And Roger, I love you, bro. I love you, bro. But the fact that you said you haven't watched The Wire?
What did you say, nigga?
And since you haven't watched The Wire, Roger, I gotta hit you.
What? Hope, please.
Nigga, please.
Hope.
Nigga, what?
Nigga,
please.
Nigga, please.
What?
Get the fuck out of here, little nigga.
Love you, bro, but what in the flying flip?
Here's Rachel Lynn with another example of the disrespect.
Well, let me ask you a question, since y'all seem to think y'all know everything. You say that in the USA, none of us know who we are.
So Roger, I'm assuming that this is not a troll picture. So talk to be capable. I'm assume that you are a Caucasian brother, right? So how you go? This is the caucasity of it all. How you gonna let our Caucasian brother see The Wire before you, Roger? Hey, I'll send you my PO box so you can mail in your black card. Thank you.
Right. How can a person live with themselves every single day from sunup to sundown their entire life and not know who they are? How can a person who has a whole family, has a whole lineage,
and this is the whole thing about you don't know who you are. No, we reinvented who we are. So they gonna tell us we don't know who we are. You're not African. You don't even speak the language. Oh, what's your tribe? What's your clan name? So then we say, oh, we don't have any of that stuff. So we built something else completely different from the ground up. You know what I mean? We're not speaking your language. We're not wearing your garbs. We're not doing anything like you. We're building something completely different and distinct from that. And then they want to circle back and say, you got that from us. But you just said we don't know anything about y'all or who y'all are, the language or anything. But once you see that we get it popping, then you say, yeah, we need to take credit for that. No, you don't, man. This is what was forged, fomented, and created here on this land here.
Has roots in a place for hundreds of years, has lots of family, has their entire life, everything of who they are is where they are. How can you not?
I concur. Hey, look, man, I can get down with you. Hey, if you in Cali, you in the Bay Area, beer on me. What kind you like? You more of a Coors guy? You more of a Modelo, a Pabst, a Dos Equis? Let me know. Yeah, I'm a humanitarian, so I love everybody. I'm in California, so black people are only like 8% of the population out here. So we're interacting with non-black people all the time. Where I work in a lot of the mentorship and the filming and filmmaking I do, a lot of the people are non-black. Many of them are white. So I love white people, you know what I mean? I just don't take no disrespect from anyone. I call out people in my community and call out people in other communities. I'm an American. I'm America first. So I'm going to call out Americans. I'm going to call out Americans of all ethnicities, of all skin tones. That don't really matter, I got smoke for anyone. But yeah. Oh, and bro said he's in the ATL. Okay, IPA. Okay, I got you. Yeah. You, bro, is definitely a cool white boy, man. He giving off the You could have been on the Drumline movie. So shout out to Talk to Be Capable. Oh wow, you an actor, man? That's what's up. So maybe I don't know if you have any information, like if you have a social media or something. I'll definitely follow and look into you. I'm working on some short films myself. I write films, I produce, I direct, but I'm kind of like a one-man show. So I'm looking for a team so that, we can get a lot more things into production. But, sometimes people will be flaky, but salute to you in your acting career. You do got that look, man. You got that kind of like, you got the strong jawline, the nice haircut, the dapper suit. So shout out to Talk to Be Capable, man. And keep up the great work. Or could have been Roach in Next Friday. Yep. So let me play a little bit more of this video. And we've been joined by none other than Marky Deezy. The Wire Explains American Society. Yeah, The Wire is a fire movie. So Roger, bro, what the hell is wrong with you, bro? You ain't seen The Wire yet? But nah, I get what bro is saying. He said at the time he didn't have HBO or Showtime when it was on. I get that. And I actually did see it after it was off HBO, then I was able to kind of binge watch it. So I didn't see it once it was live, but I do believe that The Wire is, one of the greatest shows because it breaks down the hood aspects, but also a lot of politics, a lot of police state. So social human dynamics. I liked it a lot. He says procrastination. Well, at least you've been paying your bills. So as long as your bills is paid, that's okay. But you still got to send me that black card until further notice.
Know who you are. See, here's the thing, y'all. This is more proof that you Africans, y'all think that has roots in a place for hundreds of years, has lots of family, has their entire life, everything of who they are is where they are. How can you not know who you are? See, here's the thing, y'all. This is more proof that you Africans, y'all think that if a person is Black, they're supposed to center Africa around everything. Africa might be your love. It might be your heart. It might be your soul, because that's where you live and that's where you're from. All the people that you love and know are in Africa. It ain't like that for us over here. We don't center Africa. We don't know nothing about y'all. We don't have no family over there. You're not our heart. You're not our soul. We don't really resonate with nothing that y'all got going on over there. We don't know y'all. So just because we don't center Africa does not mean that we don't know who we are. Speaking a certain language doesn't mean that you don't know who you are. What is hard to understand about that?
There's nothing hard to understand about that.
Yeah, speaking of that, you know how many Mexicans or Hispanics over here or Latinos that don't speak Spanish? I mean, a lot of them don't. Does that make them any less Latino, any less Mexican if they don't speak Spanish? So when they try to say, oh, well, you guys don't even know your language and all this stuff. No, our language is English. That's what our language is. And of the English, we've made our own form of a language, which people try to ridicule. You guys speak Ebonics. Yeah. So words like this, ain't. Don't you hear a lot more people? They used to tell Black people, ain't a word. But now you hear people of all racial backgrounds saying ain't. A lot of stuff that are just common English words, we take them and flip them to mean something else. Did we invent dope? No, but we popularized saying dope. Did we invent the word cap? No. But when we say, man, stop capping, we made it mean that in a context. A cap means a hat, a baseball cap. Also, I'm from Pittsburgh, so capping also means like clowning or roasting on somebody. So if you like talking smack and telling your mama joke, that's like, oh, bro, so-and-so is capping on you. And then as the years evolved, cap means that's a lie. Man, that's cap. That means that's a lie. That's part of our vernacular. They call it AAVE. I call it BAVE, Black American Vernacular Ebonics, right? Even simple words like finna, right? Finna means I'm about to. But if a Black person says, hey, I'm finna do something, right? Yeah, you know exactly what they're saying. It's even finna, it's fixna. Hey, man, I'm fixing to make me something to eat. I'm finna make me something to eat. You know what I mean? There ain't no food in the kitchen, right? Yeah, people can try to say that's ghetto Ebonics and stuff. And then you'll see a bunch of non-Black people using those same ghetto Ebonics. But it's not called ghetto and Ebonics when they use it, right? So, yeah, we have people that speak very proper, very eloquent and articulate. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, James Baldwin, and many of our more modern thought leaders. But that is part of our culture and vernacular as well to kind of mix things up. You know, when somebody say, do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about? We might say, do you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? We're saying the same things, different words. That's ghetto, but you understood what I said.
The fact that we speak a language different than the languages of our ancestors tells you clearly that we do know who we are, because we know why we're speaking this language and not the language.
Oh, damn. I got to give a shout out to my Pittsburgh brethren. I didn't even know. Marky Deezy. Yeah, I'm from the P, but the earth is my turf. Where I roam is my home. I'm from the West Pittsburgh to be exact. But hey, I claim the whole city. I claim the whole county. I claim the whole state. I claim the whole planet.
Of our ancestors. The fact that they can't grasp that lets you know that there's a disconnect somewhere with them. And again, separation anxiety. They can't detach themselves from the idea that we are not them.
Like, I really don't.
So Roger says, you know what I'm saying? But what we would say is, yada mean. So you can say yada mean, or you can say yada, with a little bit of roll. So this is part of our language. This is BAVE, Black American Vernacular Ebonics. So instead of saying know what I'm saying, I say yada mean or yada mean. You know what I mean? Or you know what I'm talking about? Same thing. And y'all understood everything that I just said.
Understand why y'all think that we're supposed to center Africa, like Africa is supposed to be our heart and our soul, like we're supposed to be longing to be African, because if we don't long to be African or be African.
Yep. Nah, I mean, like out here in the Bay, we might say yada mean. So there's variations. There's yada mean, and then there's yada mean. You know what I mean? You got to add a little yada. You got to add a little extra sauce onto it. But nah mean, it means the same thing. And then Braxton says, even the old school, like, can you dig it? You dig. And can you feel me? You feel me? You feel what I'm saying? You feel me, bro? All saying the same thing.
African or claim Africa, then we just are lost and we don't know who we are. And you call us, man, you think we got the main character syndrome?
It's a circular argument that Black Americans continue to have with Africans that you can't win. You cannot win that argument. What you can do is to continue to remind them that we're not Africans, but they are. And there's a lot going on over there now that they need to be concerned about. And a real question would be, what are you doing here in America or in the UK? Because most of this energy is coming from immigrants, people who fled their homeland or their parents fled their homeland looking for a better way of life in somebody else's homeland.
Braxton's trying to take it back. He says, you put partner, but I would take that R out. See, the way we say it ain't no. So the correct English is partner, but we don't say partner. We say partner. What's happening? Partner? Like, so it's like P-O-T, nah. So we just take the R out. What up, partner? Homeboy, homie, homegirl, home skillet, home slice. Yeah. This is part of our vernacular.
And instead of focusing,
even with bro, like bro is just a shortening of brother. Like we didn't come up with the term brother, but when somebody say that's a sister, that's a brother, right? There's a racial connotation to that. And then we shorten bro. And then especially in the Bay, I'm from the P, Pittsburgh, CA, no H, we'll say Brody. What up, Brody? So even when I was growing up, some people thought that was kind of corny. Man, why y'all saying bro? Some people would be saying blood, cuz, and all this other stuff to try to distinguish themselves. But in Pittsburgh, we just be like, man, what it do, bro? What up, bro? We'll say it in different ways too. Come on, bro. And Brody, you know what I mean? So yeah, like, bro, we take normal language and we flip it and we make it cool.
On building that better life and trying to use their skills and knowledge and money to help build their homeland, they're focusing on people that they don't need to be focused on. They don't need to spend an iota of their time being concerned about Black Americans, how we identify, whether or not we have language, whether or not we have culture. Those are not things that they need to be concerned about. Donald Trump.
Yeah, because people, they didn't used to like to say bro. They thought it was kind of corny, you know, so that's why some things you just got to stick to, because things that were unpopular or may have been viewed as corny in a certain period, you know, some things come back full circle. So, yeah, I like bro, you know, because I like bro than, you know, better than nigga or fool. What up, fool? You know, what up, my nigga? What up, bro? You feel me? Like that is a more endearing, a more empowering term, a less offensive term. But we use all of the terms interchangeably.
Just bombed Nigeria on Christmas Day. That's something that Nigerians need to be concerned about. And I think the people in that entire
Yeah, this is a big one. And them, when we come over there, hey, who all over there? Braxton and them. So the and them is a substitute for them. So we got all sorts of, BAVE that people understand. That's ghetto. That's Ebonics. Yeah, and you understand everything that I said fluently. So does that mean you speak ghetto Ebonics? So, I mean, yeah. And he says that's what's up is one of my faves. Yeah. And this could be used in various ones, because some people will be like, okay, it's good, or that's what's up, and it's usually followed with that's what's up, my bro, my ninja, my homie, you know what I mean? But yeah, because this could just be used in any type of setting, bro. But yeah, talk to be capable, you bro. Yeah. Bro, you sounds like you've been to a lot of cookouts, bro. You didn't bring no potato salad with raisin, and the same thing with potato salad. If you like where we from, we don't even call it potato salad. It's tater salad. Hey, bro, let me get some of that tater salad over there.
region should be concerned. They don't need to be concerned about Black Americans. We will be just fine. We're good over here. Now I'm going to let you listen to this last.
Yeah, every time I hear that partner when he went and stepped to Kane. But Roger, I'm surprised you seen Menace to Society since you ain't seen The Wire. But no, I'm just joking. Menace to Society was in the 90s. You had to have seen this. Bro, if you didn't see Menace to Society, I was about to block you, bro. No more wrench, no more mod. I was this close to blocking you. But if you seen Menace, then you good.
Video.
When it's time to scale your business, it's time for Shopify. Get everything you need to grow the way.
Black Americans, come forward. And even Black Canadians, you guys feel like you're better than Africans. You're not. Mm-hmm. You're not. A lot of times they also feel like they're better than Caribbeans as well. Actually, no, we don't. The funny thing is, all of you were on the same boat. They fell off the boats.
This dude sounds hella moist. It's like, who is this, bruh? The moist version of Tupac? Shaka Zulu Pac? Like, no, nigga, shut up, bruh. Nobody thinks they're better. Y'all think that we're better. Right? We can make an argument that we are better, but I'm not pushing that line. I mean, I'm a humanitarian. I love all people. But, bro, you ain't just going to come at my people, generalize an entire lineage, because disrespect begets disrespect. He want to generalize us. I say, fine. We'll hold all of the racial stereotypes, the ethnic stereotypes, but that means we pushing it right back at y'all. We're not the ones going over to African, and Caribbean countries talking about, look how smart we are because we graduated at HBCU. Many of them come over here and talk about how superior they are because of their culture, and they tout their educational achievement. We don't do that. And then this whole thing that you guys are the same. You just went on different boats. Like, that means that we're different. So imagine you got 3 kids, right? And just think of whatever football. I'm gonna use some football schools here in my Bay Area. So if you're from the Bay, you can relate this. Imagine you send one of your kids to Pittsburgh High, one of your kids to De La Salle High, and one of your kids to Clayton Valley High. Do you think those kids are all going to have the same outcomes? Oh, you were just on a different bus and they dropped you off at different schools. Different schools are going to be teaching different things, different indoctrination, different social engineering, different programs. Some programs are better. You can't say, oh, because you guys were on the same bus and they dropped you off over here, you're the same as this person that went to this school. No. That's idiotic. Hey, you guys were on the same boat. They dropped some in the Caribbean, some in the United States, some in Canada, and you're all the same because you were allegedly on the same boat. there's really no proof of that, but let's just say that we were, right? So that means that Canadians should have all of the cultural achievements that we do, right? Since we're just the same people. But why don't they? The Caribbean should have the same cultural achievement and accomplishments as us, since we're just the same people. They try to bring up Haiti in 1804, but there were like 200 plus slavery revolts prior to 1804. And I'm not trying to denigrate Haiti. Shout out to Haiti, but they actually didn't really win. They won a battle and lost a war. They won, and then they got buck broken because their corrupt leadership unalived the people who were fighting against the French, and then they sold out their people and had to pay reparations. That's not a win for hundreds of years. So we're not the same. And over there, they're the majority. We've been a minority population, and we're getting more popping than people that are in the majority. And then you say, oh, you think you're better than us? Well, based on these cultural achievements and accomplishments, on paper, we are better. Now, like I said, I'm being facetious with that argument. I'm not willing to go that far just because, I'm trying to be politically correct. And I really am about the upliftment of all people. But for you to just blatantly lie and say that we think we're better and then we're just a different boat ride, then yeah, you guys should channel some of that, what Tariq calls the Majara spirit. We've already set the blueprint for resistance. If we're all just different people that got off on the same boat, then show some of that ingenuity in your homeland. Let me rewind it back.
You guys feel like you're better than Africans. You're
How?
not. You're not. A lot of times they also feel like they're better than Caribbeans as well. Actually,
No, we don't.
The funny thing is, all of you were on the same boat. They fell off the boats
Fell off
by
the
the
boat.
water. Caribbeans fell off the boats by the water when they were taking them to America.
Third world countries.
We are better. I don't want to even put comparison.
He was about. He
We
said.
are-
And you saw that. So once again, he was about to say we are better, but then he's whining and saying, you guys think you're better than us, but he thinks he's better than us. He was literally about to say that, and then he tried to pivot to say something else. So this is the issue. They've always thought that they were better than us, and we've just kind of been, letting them lie about us, letting them push those fatherless home narratives, kids out of wedlock, stay away from the Akata, right? We were just letting them say all this type of stuff. Now with this whole delineation process, we're telling people to hold your own nuts, hold your own lineage, your own culture, and your own filth, but also your achievements. If you achieve something culturally, you should be able to claim that. You should be able to claim that unadulterated, unabashed. We don't want to tether onto it at all. But now he's over here saying that we think that we're better, when in the back of his mind, he already thinks that he's better than us. Bro, shut your moist, goofy ass up.
A lot of times they also feel like they're better than Caribbeans as well. Actually,
No, we don't.
The funny thing is, all of you were on the same boat. They fell off the boats
Fell off
by
the
the
boats.
water. Caribbeans fell off the boats by the water when they were taking them to America.
Third world countries.
We are better. I don't want to even put comparison.
He was about. He said we are better
have
than
the
you.
same color of skin. I get that you guys have been through a lot, like with racism and slavery and all of that. I'm sorry that was your story. And now coming to the country, you are like an hypocrite.
So this dude is insufferable. I'm going to rewind it back so I can try to break this down play by play. But see, this is what he's trying to say. We have the same skin. There's a bunch of Asians that have the same skin as white people. Are Asians white? They call Trump the orange man, but Trump is white. His skin, he's a white man, but his skin is not white. So even saying that we have the same skin tone, it doesn't mean that we're the same people. And before, we have been under this banner. We've been subscribing to the one drop rule. We've been subscribing to everyone being all one big global Negro and just this generic lost African. We've been subscribing to that stuff foolishly, and it's been to a detriment. And now that we woke up and said, man, hell no, this stuff don't even make sense. Now people are trying to come at us, and he's saying that we have the skin tone. Look at a leopard and look at a jaguar. They look pretty similar. Some can't tell the difference, but just because you can't tell the difference, does that mean that they're the same? Because to the naked eye, you may not be able to tell the difference between a leopard or a jaguar. Does that mean that they're the same? Now, other people can clearly see that, okay, these jaguars are much bigger. They're in different climates. They have different diets. You can scientifically and biologically break down how they're different. Same species, very different, right? But with us, we're supposed to all be global Negroes. So I'll say, keep that standard amongst all races. Go tell an Asian, a Chinese person that they're no different than a Korean. Go tell a Japanese person that they're no different than a Filipino. Go tell someone from Thailand that they're no different than a Cambodian person. Y'all all are Asian. Y'all all just came off the same boat. Y'all all got the same skin tone. They're going to look at you like you got a big turd running down your face. Go to a Tongan person and tell them you're no different than a Samoan because you guys came from the same island. Go to a person from the Dominican Republic and say, y'all share the island of Hispaniola with Haiti. So you guys are really no different than each other. Go tell them that and then see what answer you get. And then maybe you'll stop whining to FBA saying that we all have to identify as one big global generic African.
I get that you guys have been through a lot, like with racism and slavery and all of that. I'm sorry that was your story.
So this is gaslighting right here, saying that I'm sorry that you guys been through a lot with racism, slavery, and that's your story. Bruh, there's slavery in Africa now. Your homeland is being colonized now. Jamaicans and Jamaican can't access their beaches now. Nigeria has rolling blackouts now. So they try to project this. You guys were slave, and I get it. Like, they try to make it shamed, like we're ashamed of being slaves. No. At least we can say we were enslaved formerly and we built something. You guys allegedly weren't enslaved, so that's even a weaker excuse. We were enslaved and built more than you. You weren't enslaved, so no, let me revisit that. We were the minority, formerly enslaved, and built more than you. You were the majority, not enslaved, and then built a scintilla of what we built. So here he is trying to act like, I'm sorry that was your story. No, I'm sorry that you're currently buck broken in your homeland. See, when people think of buck breaking, it's not just the physical aspect. The most important aspect of buck breaking is the psychological aspect, because once you're psychologically buck broken, they barely have to do anything physical, because these people in their homeland are so psychologically buck broken. They're pulling down their pants to their legs. They're saying, I don't even need no lube. They're just bending over and spreading cheeks. That is utterly pathetic. You're not in any position to wag your fingers. You're not in any position to give advice, especially from a moist maniac like this dude. Let me rewind it back one more again.
I don't want to even put comparison.
No, we don't.
The funny thing is, all of you, they fell off the boat by the water. Caribbeans fell off the boat by the water when they were taking them to America. Third world countries. We are better. I don't want to even put comparison.
He said we are better than you.
We have the same color of skin. I get that you guys have been through a lot, like with racism and slavery and all of that. I'm sorry that was your story. And now coming to the country, you are like an hypocrite because you treat us quite similarly to the way white people have been treating you guys. And it's worse for us because now we have to deal with white people and we have to deal with.
First of all, that guy.
Did y'all hear this moist maniac go on this tether tirade saying it's worse for us because now he's saying like they're being attacked by black people and by us? Literally all we're doing, when you see a lot of these Africans that complain, all they try to say is, you called me an African booty scratcher when I was 6. Nigga, now you're 46. You still whining about somebody calling you an African booty scratcher when you were 6? Niggas don't even say that shit no more. Now I have been seeing a resurrection of some people are, using it, but it's more in a satirical way. But we called each other that. So it wasn't just about African. It was just kids ragging on each other. But that stuff had died out like by the early 2000s. And I think even the late 90s, people wasn't calling each other African booty scratcher. So really think about this. They've come over here, set up their own ethnic enclaves. Many of them have gotten into positions of power to undermine us. but they're worried about being called a tether. What is worse, calling someone a tether and an African booty scratcher, or someone getting in Congress saying, y'all niggas don't deserve reparations and we gonna open the border and dump a bunch of non-black, mainly Latino immigrants in black neighborhoods and displace the neighborhood? What is worse, calling someone a tether or them politically working to suppress and undermine you? It's not even close.
I'm not exactly sure which country he comes from, but he had a Freudian slip when he said, "We are better." He was literally about to say, "We are better than you."
Oh, and it looks like I've been joined by an illustrious guest, none other than Sincere Saida in the building. Missed your stream the other day, but I did share you out. Salute to this sister right here. Make sure y'all give her a subscribe. But she says it's tribalism. They regard American blacks as a tribe. So basically it's a fight or disdain from one tribe towards another tribe of black people. That's what I said. When people say, well, what's your clan name and what's your tribe? Yeah, we're not Igbo, Yoruba, Fulani or anything. Our tribe is black. Now, people could feel some type of way, right? Oh, well, that's not a tribe or anything like it. Okay, if it's not a tribe, won't you just go stand on Yoruba business and not even worry about us, right? We're just supposed to be these lost generic Africans, so let us be lost. Why are you so obsessed with us, right? But all of these people that say, well, there's no country called black. Well, there's no country called white, and you're being dominated by white people who don't have a country called white. So that's just an idiotic statement to make. Does there need to be a country called black for us to stand on black business? And that's fine. That's why many people are saying, like, technically we are the only black people, because it is not only a racial representation, but our ethnonym. And we lean into blackness. I know a lot of people like, I don't like blackness. I don't like, so okay, cool. Go call yourself Hebrew. Go call yourself Israelite, Aboriginal. There's no gun to your head. You can identify however you want to identify. But what I'm saying is, when we're having conversations about Black American Negro freedmen, we don't need people from outside of that lineage coming in and telling us what we need to do, right? You're Nigerian, go talk to the Nigerians. You're Haitian, go talk to the Haitians, right? You're Aboriginal, go talk to your Aboriginal people. Why are you trying to infiltrate a group and trying to get us to identify how you, oh man, y'all calling yourself black, you should be calling yourself this. There's not a bunch of FBAs going over to say, don't call yourself African American, don't call yourself indigenous. We're saying, look, this is how we identify and we standing on it. However you identify, go stand on it. Stop whining, because this is how a lot of you niggas sound when you whining, trying to get FBAs to identify. Why are you calling yourself black? You know, black means the absence of color and blah, blah, blah. Okay, go preach this to the white people, because this is how you niggas sound. So with that being said, just do me a favor.
Do me a favor. Shut the fuck up.
That's all we saying. Hold your own nuts and hold your own lineage. And, you know, things, you know, it won't be no beef. And he says, the devil was a lie. I wish and I hope one day we look past color. Maybe it will happen with my kids. It's a damn shame. We should be so past this nonsense. It's frustrating. And I concur. See, we are not the ones who want to make things about color, but we also can't pretend that we live in this colorblind utopia. When they had signs that were saying no niggers allowed, that was about color. And now they're saying, okay, well, we just took the signs down. We still hate you niggers, but you don't deserve reparations. You don't deserve any restorative justice. Just get over it. So, and then we say, fine, we will get over it, right? We won't bring up racism. We won't bring up color. And then we stop talking about color. And then you have J.D. Vance, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Elon Musk. We need more white babies. It's like, but I thought you just said stop talking about color. All the people will say stop talking about color, and then we say, okay, we're all Americans. Let's just drop the color talk. The very next sentence, what about black on black crime and black fathers this and BLM? Is like, why you keep talking about color, race, and black people when you just said we're all American and we're all God's children? And then people will say they don't see color. But like MLK said, the most segregated hour in America is 12 p.m. on a Sunday. So all of these evangelicals, right? We're all supposed to be reading this same Bible, right? But then why is there a lily white Christian church? Why is there an Asian church? Why is there a black church? Show me the multicultural churches. They don't exist. The people that are in there, you may have some melanated people or some white people sprinkled in here, but there's not a cohesive unit of multicultural churches. And people will make excuses for why that is. Then think about how idiotic this is. So we're separate on here. So what? We're going to be united in heaven. So you want to redline blacks out of your neighborhood on earth, but in the mythical, spiritual, heavenly realm, we'll be together. So if we going to be together in heaven, then why are we not together on earth? You niggers can't live in my yard. NIMBYs, not in my backyard, but in heaven, we'll be best friends. This shit don't even make sense, bro. We've accepted the identity the society has given us. Yeah, well, the thing is, we've created an identity. Society tried to give us an identity, but then we reshaped, remixed, revitalized it to make it our own identity. But that's the whole thing. This is why people talk about white supremacy. Not that they're inherently superior beings. It's just that they've created a system that is predicated on our subjugation and whiteness being at the top of the socioeconomic and racial stratification system. So all of these things were done by force. And this is where it gets tricky, right? So they'll colonize you by force, and then you're just supposed to accept it. But then if you resist the colonization, the only way for you to resist is to respond to them forcibly. So you respond to their force with force. And then they say, you have a culture of violence. It's like, where did I learn it from? Right? When they say that we conquered, like, we didn't colonize, we conquered, right? So in order for you to conquer, what took place? Rape, pillage, plunder. So if you're proud of that, say that with your full chest. Say that you were proud of what you were doing. And on the flip side, if you want to dethrone them from what they conquered, that's what it would take. And many people ain't willing to take that. So they like to dish it out, but they can't take it. It's like they like to slap people and then they get slapped harder and say, we're victims. But it's like you were going around slapping people. Now you just met somebody who slapped you harder. Punjabis are Asian, but you wouldn't say they're Korean, Chinese, or Cambodian. That's what I'm trying to say. This is why you got to drop goofy terms like people of color. All of these people will be labeled as people of color, but there's a bunch of Punjabis that are whiter than Trump, but then classified as a person of color. There's a bunch of Punjabis that are classified as white, and some are classified as Asian. And some North Africans can identify as African American if they want. This is this 3-card racial Monty where it's like, on Wednesday, I want to go to the cookout, I'm African American. I want to ingratiate myself with the whites, so, I'm Caucasian. I'm in Silicon Valley, so, hey, I'm Asian. It's like, bruh, like at some point, you got to draw a line in the sand. That Pan-African nonsense is a grift. We have been played for fools. It centers Africa, but never demands African do anything for themselves or anyone else. Yeah, when you look at over here, they had a Homestead Act where they're like, the Statue of Liberty was for us, formerly enslaved people, but then they framed it into, give us your sick, tired, and poor. So they wanted these sick, tired, peasants, from Europe, and they said, look, we'll give you free land to come over here because we're not having enough babies, so we need to import a bunch of people to maintain this so-called white ethno-state. Now, what country in Africa is saying, here, come over here and we gonna give y'all some free land? They'll say, this country is offering citizenship, but that's not true. When you read the fine print, they want you to come over there with a bag. I had somebody, because I'm in the music industry as well. I had somebody in one of these countries, I can't remember. So I don't know if he was a scammer or not, but They wanted me to come over there and perform and do some stuff over there. But in order for me to go, I had to send them like my bank account, your entire bank. Like they needed your like routing number and account. Like, no, bro, I'm not giving you my entire bank statement just to travel to your country. They want to see how much money you make, how long you're going to stay. And then all of these people think that you should be caping for open borders. They think that you should be cheering on birthright citizenship when in many of these places, they don't have birthright citizenship. Even a place like Japan, you'll go over there and you'll be accepted as Japanese, but they'll still consider you gaijin, which means, yeah, you're a Japanese citizen, but you're not Japanese. And that's kind of what some of these people are talking about with the whole heritage American things. Like, yeah. And some of the stuff, you know, some of that stuff is just bigoted, and some of the stuff, there is legitimate arguments. I always say there is a difference between having American lineage and being an American citizen. And this ruffles some feathers, but usually people make emotional or rational arguments, not logical arguments, to refute what I'm saying. The shame does not lie with the slave and his descendants, but the slave master and his. And if they have no shame, then you need to say that you're proud of it. I'm proud of rape. I'm proud of pillage and plunder, enslaving, subjugation. Say it with your full chest, because they want you to be ashamed of being a slave. So I'm like, if you want me to be ashamed of being a slave, were you proud of being a slave owner? It's imperative that you get them to say that with a full chest, because if they're not proud of it, then why are they talking about we conquered you and you were a slave, right? If you think slavery is bad, why are you even bringing that point up? That was the name they used to get us to separate from Africans. Well, Africans on the continent of Africa are separate. There's over 3,000 tribes, 2,000 different dialects. Does that sound united to you? Right? There's no gun forcing many of them to identify as various tribes. A lot of the reason why they can't get their stuff together, because many of them are speaking different dialects. So imagine you get dropped into a Hispanic neighborhood and you don't speak Spanish, right? How far is that coalition building going to go? They can't understand your English. You can't understand their Spanish. So you can smile at each other. Maybe you can buy some tamales here and there, but what building is going to be going on besides that if you can't communicate? So Africans in Africa are not united. Even if you look at the North Africans, they try to distance themselves from Africa. Many North Africans call themselves Caucasian. So they just think that they're just darker white people. Palestinians, right? Free Palestine from the river to the sea. But when Palestinians come over here, they're labeled as white. Lebanese people, white. Egyptians, white. Syrians, white. So many of these people, even the Middle East is some made up term. Where's the Middle North or any of these other places? All the whole Middle East and sub-Saharan is some pseudoscientist stuff to try to say that, hey, you guys are African, but you're not like them. You're Middle Eastern. So the Middle Easterns will say that they're on the continent of Africa, but they'll refer to themselves as more Asiatic than African. So when they come over here, but they're not really, many of them are not checking the Asian box, but they could. They're not checking the African American box, but they could. But what box most of them are checking is white. Now, in 2030, there will be a racial ethnic classification, MENA, Middle Eastern, North African, but that's not into 2030. So what have they been identifying this whole time? And people like to play these games. They're not white. They're not white. And then you look at their legal papers and they say, actually, they are. Doesn't matter if you say biologically, scientifically, I'm not white. I'm talking about legal social classification. You chose to be white. They can check other. There's always a box that says other. You can check that box and then write it in. You can check other and write Palestinian. Instead, they check Palestinian under white. But you don't want me to call them white? No difference than Jewish people. 92% of American Jews identify as white, but they'll say, I'm Jewish. Okay, that's a religion. That's not a race. That's my ethnic group. Okay, look at the census and show me where there's a box that you can check that says Jewish. Show me where there's a box that you can check that says Muslim or Arab. So since we know those boxes are not there, we have to ask, what race are they? And I think people should have the right to identify as what they believe they are. 92% of American Jews identify as racially white. So why are we pretending that they're anything other than that? I wonder in the countries in Africa, do the children play the dozens with each other? I'm certain they do. So having the same experience in America shouldn't be such an issue. I'm sure they play the dozens, but it's crazy though, because every time I hear them coming up with names like Abid, calling a slave, Jarir, Akata, saying Yankee in a derogatory term, it's always directed towards Black American FBA freedmen. Where are y'all derogatory slurs towards the Arabs that are beating y'all up with bamboo sticks, the Chinese people and the whites? All of y'all slurs and epithets is towards the only people that have ever fought for you. Weird, I know. But when you buck broken, that's what it is. But let me play a little bit more of the video. And I appreciate all of y'all for coming through. This has been a fruitful stream. And it's only about 3 more minutes of this video.
We are the ones that come over here with that whole...
That's quite similar to the way white people have been treating you guys. And it's worse for us because now we have to deal with white people and we have to deal with...
First of all, that guy, I'm not exactly sure which country he comes from, but he had a Freudian slip when he said, we are better. He was literally about to say, we are better than you. They are the ones that come over here with that holier than thou. I'm better than you. I work harder than you. I'm smarter than you, Black American.
Yeah, unfortunately, this term was ushered in by the boule, the buck broken boule, because we're the only one that does this. Most crime is intraracial. More whites kill whites, more Asians kill Asians, etc. When you think about the Latino gangs, right? Actually, 10 of the most violent cities in the entire world, out of that, I think 7 or 8 of them are in Latin America. So of the top 10 cities in the entire world, 80% of them are in Latin America. But people don't say Latinos have a culture of violence when on paper it is. When you think about the Crips and the Bloods, who are pretty much low level and defunct in terms of crime, they're at the bottom of the totem pole of crime. Who has a more history of violence, organizational crime? The Crips and the Bloods or the Mexican cartel, the Colombian cartel, the Jewish mafia, the Irish mafia, the Italian mafia? All of these gangs known to be much more violent, much more organized. If you have organized crime, that means that that's a culture. That means it's a system, which means it's cultural. It's not only systemic, it's cultural. There's no cultural system of Crips and Bloods. There's a bunch of random people, white Crips, Asian Crips, and all this stuff. So that's actually not our culture. That comes from a specific condition, right? These gangs were bred from poverty. Many of the Italian mafia, like, are they just a bunch of poor people in the hood? Is the Jewish mafia just a bunch of poor people? So all of these gangs and organizations are much more violent, much more equipped with advanced weaponry, but they don't get the stigma of it being cultural. But how is it not cultural? You'll hear Mexicans saying, I had to flee gang violence. Oh, so your homeland had a culture of gang violence? No, you can't say that. That's xenophobic. But if there's somebody in Chicago that says, hey, man, I need to get out of Chicago. It's rough over here. Shut up, nigger. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Okay, well then tell the Mexican dude to pull himself up by his bootstrap. So what if you're fleeing crime? And then who are they when they say they're fleeing the cartel? Who is in the cartel? It's other Mexicans harming other Mexicans. So what? I'm supposed to feel sorry for them? No. Clean up your homeland, right? Ain't that what they tell us? Clean up Chicago, right? Stop all the crime. We'll stop all the crime in Tijuana, so you don't have to flee here. Same energy, same logic. How you gonna tell me this? So if there's a gang, if there's a little black boy in Oakland, he's saying, man, it's a bunch of gangs here, man. I need some help. I need to get out of here. Shut up, nigger. But then if the Mexican is like, oh, there's a bunch of cartel in Tijuana. Here, we'll roll out the red carpet for you. Do you need some health care? Do you need some job training? Do you need a daycare? And not only that, we'll give you a debit card. Oh, and Trump is trying to deport you, so we'll give you a lawyer too. What's the difference? Both of those kids are fleeing gang violence. The only thing is they're not rolling out the red carpet for the black dudes. They're telling you to figure it out. So I'll tell all these other groups, hey, if your homeland is being decimated and drug infested, figure it out. Stop whining.
Are lazy, Black Americans are entitled, Black Americans complain all day. Like, I could literally pull up videos of Africans and Caribbeans saying that they're better. Their school systems are better, the food is better, the air quality is better, they're smarter, they work harder, they hustle harder, and the list goes on.
And how she conveyed that is pretty much how Black Americans perceive them. So what they need to
So I'm not sure if you're talking to someone in the chat or me, but you said, I'm trying to understand, are you upset because African-born cats are treating American cats like trash? Is that the gist? I'm truly trying to understand. Do they treat you like they're better? I don't know who this is directed to, but let me just correct you. No, we're not upset. This is the thing. We're getting some straightening before. Many of our elders and olders and our parents, we just let a lot of stuff ride. But now we're not tolerating disrespect from anyone. It doesn't matter if you're African, Caribbean, Latino. It doesn't matter if you're from our lineage. We call out our own people. That's why we call them raccoons and sambos. All someone that's a tether is just a foreign or a sambo that's not of the lineage. So this is not upset. If somebody disrespects you and you call them out, it's not because you're upset. It's just certain things that you don't tolerate. If you allow people to continuously walk over you and become a doormat, then they're going to continuously do it, right? So if a bully keeps bullying you and you just allow them to bully you, why would they ever stop? But if that bully keeps bullying you and they get hit in the mouth, yeah, they have to readjust their strategy. So America does treat immigrants better many times because there is a great replacement strategy, not a theory. Now, they're not trying to replace the whites, the W's, but there has been a way to not only displace, but also dilute the political power of FBAs. And you can see this all over. Examples, places like Oakland, which was in the 90s, 47% black, Richmond, 47% black. Now it's about 17% black. There's a bunch of Latinos there. Many of them came here illegally, undocumented status stuff there. Now, if that was the flip, right? If there was an area that was 47% Hispanic and then now it's only 17% Hispanic and it has an influx of black people, they wouldn't be okay with that. But we're just supposed to be accepting of anyone and everyone. A bunch of white people, they love to say it's a nation of immigrants and all this other type of stuff, right? And they cape for open borders. But as soon as you drop those same immigrants that they were caping for, you drop those immigrants in their neighborhood and they tell them to get the hell out of here. Y'all saw what happens in Martha's Vineyard. They were like, oh, look, the nice immigrants. They gave them some bottles of water, sent them packing. They send the immigrants to poor, dilapidated areas, whereas typically a black area flooded with so many non-English speaking, non-black people that the area gets transferred. And this is why they want to use terms like people of color. So when they drop people over there, hey, I just brought more people of color. When they look at the open borders, they only let in less than 6% of African and Caribbean immigrants. So the majority of the immigrants they were letting in were Latino and Asian. So that's why they keep trying to say, oh, the Hispanic community is growing so much. All of that stuff is artificial. They're just bringing in a bunch of people who speak Spanish and dumping them in and saying, oh, yeah, they're all Hispanic. And now they have a larger ethnic group than you. See, we still are the second largest ethnic group in the entire country. Is Germans number one and is foundational Black Americans after that. But this is how they play the little political ethnic tethering games. So if you compare foundational Black Americans to Irish people, it's more than us. To Mexicans is more of us. To Nigerians is more than us. To Mexicans is more than us. It's more of us is what I meant. But then when you say Hispanic, they'll say there's more Hispanics than you. And then they're combining Mexicans, Venezuelans, Hondurans, Brazilians, Puerto Ricans. They're lumping them all under a banner of Hispanic and comparing them to all the Black people and saying, oh, well, they're our largest group, so that's why we have to pander to them, right? And that's what they were brought over here to be, a buffer group. That's all it was. And many of the Hispanics, because Hispanic is not a race, Latino is not a race, most Hispanics identify as white. Now, many of them now, because they're trying to take the benefit of the person of color status, so many of them now will say that they're mixed race. But then when you ask them and say, okay, you're biracial, they'll still lean in to say that they're one or the other. But there's no race called Hispanic. Sammy Sosa is Hispanic. Is Sammy Sosa the same race as AOC? David Ortiz is Hispanic. Is he the same race as J-Lo? So these are the games that people like to play, conflating ethnicity, nationality, and racial groups. And people will say, well, don't make it about race. And then we don't make it about race and say, look, we're foundational Black American. Well, we all Black, but I thought you just said don't make it about race. Right? We're supposed to make it about ethnic specificity, but people try to make it about race when it's convenient to them. Nick Fuentes, right? I'm an ethnic. Like, what the hell does that mean, dude? You're white, right? Like, just say that. You know what I mean? So people like to try to play these games, and, we're just tired of it, bro. And he says, I didn't mean to disrespect by upset. I just meant the issue. No, I didn't take it like that. But, we're about clarity and specificity over here. This is not an emotional rant. This is logical. No doubt the immigrants is complete hypocrisy at its finest. And that's all we doing. We're just calling out. And shout out to Harvesting Now. Martha's Vineyard are 100% Democrats. I call out both people. I'm politically independent. Everyone should be politically independent. And you make the politicians vie for your vote. They're supposed to campaign on what they're going to do for you. Quid pro quo. You think Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk are going to vote for any president that's not going to explicitly do anything for them? But with us, we're supposed to vote for symbolic gestures. Those days are over, or at least coming to an end. America is always in a constant pursuit to keep a slave class of people. That class needs an overseer of sorts to keep the status quo. Yeah, and they've chosen us to be the slave class. And now what they want to do is they want to make us not only a slave class, but they want a indentured servant class. So that's where they're bringing in more of the immigrants, and they keep lying. They're just doing the jobs that nobody wants to do. It's like, how are those industries built then, right? If they just newly arrived, clearly they weren't doing the jobs. So who was doing the jobs before them? So that's the whole thing. They just want to pay them under the table. People will do those jobs. It's a bunch of immigrants working at McDonald's. You mean to tell me no Americans will work at McDonald's? No Americans will do construction? Like, come on now. When they say they're picking the fruit, now they got a bunch of machines. So many of them are not picking fruit. Y'all think AI is just on like social media? No, they have AI robotics that are picking fruits. So they'll say they're here to pick fruit, and then they dump a bunch of them in South Carolina or New York. Yeah, there's not a lot of picking fruit going on in New York and New Jersey or Chicago. All immigrants were non-white. Yeah, except for the Afrikaners. But see, who is in charge of running the immigration system? Let's just say all of them were non-white. Who was in charge? Don't take my word for it. Look it up. Congress is overwhelmingly white and overwhelmingly white male. So could you blame some poor thug in Baltimore that has no power? Or could you blame the W's that are in power? They say the niggas in the hood is just low IQ. So you can't blame them. They're low IQ. But you guys allege that you're high IQ. So we should be able to blame you. Who should be more responsible? Some low IQ savage thugs or some high IQ people that have a propensity for leadership, right? Yeah. So we should be blaming y'all. Y'all are the ones in power. What Americans need to do is team up for America. Stop being racist. I will concur with this. This is what's hard because, first of all, people want to try to act like racism doesn't exist. So you can't team up if you won't acknowledge reality. So we need to acknowledge reality and say, how do we overcome racism? How do we stop being racist rather than stop talking about race? That's woke. It's like that doesn't change anything. I was never a fan of potato salad either. I just came around in recent years, started liking mac and cheese, but give me my black card. It's collard, but especially mustard greens, turkey wings, candy yams, too sweet. Well, I don't know if you get your black card back because I know, Roger, don't you cook greens in the bathtub? Yeah, you better thank a union member. So shout out to Harvest. I blame all of them Democrats. Yeah, I'm not a Democrat. So like F the Democrats, F the Republican. I will say the Democrats are worse than the Republican, simply leaning into Malcolm X's the wolf and the fox analogy. When you see the wolf, you see those fangs showing, you see the eyes glowing. So you know that this is a wolf. You need to steer clear of them. The Democrats are akin to a cute, cuddly fox. You think, oh, this is a fox. It's harmless. You turn around, this fox had mauled you, and not just mauled you, but your kids. So the Democrats and Republicans are both grotesque and detestable.
Understand, and what they don't seem to comprehend is that Black Americans are,
and the list goes on.
And how she conveyed that is pretty much how Black Americans perceive them. So what they need to understand and what they don't seem to comprehend is that Black Americans are at home. America is our home. However we have developed here has been based on our experiences in this country.
And this is what people don't want to just simply acknowledge. This is our homeland. Stop trying to make us some distant African. You can have African genetics and not be African. Many Europeans have African genetics. There's a reason why they were calling the Italians guineas, right? There's a reason why Napoleon was saying that Africa starts in Rome or whatever he said like that, right? They say if you believe in the out of Africa theory, we all have some level of African ancestry and genetics. That doesn't make you African, especially being an admixture. FBAs have European in them. Does that make them European? So people just want to fight tooth and nail to make this not our homeland. And it's funny because they want us to go back to Africa while they're trying to flee to come to America. Like, make it make sense.
And we're not duty bound or required to change because they show up. When you go to somebody else's country, you have to adapt. And if you're not willing to adapt, you need to go home. You don't need to come there with any.
Well, this is the thing. Black Americans are more America first than anybody else. All of these other groups, the majority of them are not America first. Like, they will say that, but let's be honest. Hispanics are Hispanic first. And Hispanic is not a race, so basically they're white first. Mejoró la raza, blancamiento, right? Asians are Asian first. Look at Vivek Ramaswamy, right? Vivek Ramaswamy is hiring a bunch of H-1B visas. Vivek Ramaswamy said Americans are lazy. So he rejects the American first. Ben Shapiro, does Ben Shapiro seem like he's American first? Ben Shapiro is Israel first. Black Americans, specifically FBAs. I'm talking about FBAs because all of these other people, whether they're from Caribbean, they want more Caribbean people to come over so they can try to make a little Jamaica or a little Haiti. FBAs, we're America first because we know we can't be deported nowhere. We have nowhere else to flee to. We wouldn't flee anyways. We don't fight. I mean, we fight. We don't flee. Right. So we're more American first than anybody else. A lot of those American first white dudes is like, bro, your family immigrated here in the 60s or the 50s or something like that. Our lineage is here decades, centuries before that. And some could trace it even further than that. But I think the centuries is enough of that. So, yes, we're as America first as it gets. But guess who? But we get attacked the most. And many of these people, the so-called America first, they'll be willing to cape for Vivek Ramaswamy. an immigrant. Myron Gaines, an immigrant. And then they'll shit on Black Americans and then say, we just can't figure out why we're not coming together. How about you lay off the racial tropes? How about you lay off the anti-Blackness? And we would definitely be crashing out because we love this country. We fought in every war. We're like etched into every fiber of the society. We truly love this country. We truly are the most patriotic. But they want to just dwindle us down to some random drive-by in Oakland. So it's up to the people who are truly America first to start standing up for foundational Black Americans and leaning into us. When they say here, even the term Heritage American, the Heritage American is just a ripoff from foundational Black American, but that's fine. We're as heritage as it gets. We're as foundational as it gets. And if people are not willing to ally with us, then, we're forced to, have some level of political isolationism. And he says, not me. I want Americans to stand for all Americans who love us. I'm not saying you, Harvesting Now. I'm just speaking in general, because I know there's plenty. I'm a humanitarian. So I got people, great white people, Asians, people are just great. I mean, so what I'm speaking about is the collective, because there will be individuals to say, hey, I'm great. Yeah, but your mom disagrees with this, or your dad, or if you have a family gathering, that the collective of them is not on board with uplifting and enriching Black people. See, Black people is just saying, hey, all that stuff, all that preferential treatment y'all been giving to immigrants, just give it to us, because we are actually owed that. They're not owed anything. You're giving that to them to displace us and create a buffer group. We're not talking about civil war or anything like that. All we're asking for is a slice of the pie in the country that our ancestors helped build. And for some people, many people, that's just too much. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't have to categorize myself as a foundational Black American, but I need. So first, let me ask you this. Are you in the white spaces asking them why do they categorize themselves as Heritage Americans? Are you asking Native Americans who didn't even call themselves Native? They didn't call themselves Native Americans. They didn't call themselves Indigenous. Are you going over there to them and saying, why do you guys call yourself Indigenous? Or why do you call yourself Native Americans? Allegedly, this was Turtle Island, right? So literally, they definitely weren't calling themselves American, but are you in their spaces asking them that? I'm just saying. And a foundational Black American is a necessary distinction, because using vague terms like African American, which is a misnomer and a term to culturally erase us, it doesn't make sense. The most of us have never been to Africa, don't know anything about Africa, so it doesn't make sense to call us an African American. So we need to have a distinction of who we're actually talking about. Elon Musk could classify himself as a African American. French Montana, who's Moroccan, he can classify as an African American. Charlize Theron could classify as African American. So when we're saying we're foundational Black Americans, we're talking about ethnic and cultural specificity. Also, go ask a Chinese American, why do they call themselves Chinese American? They're Asian, right? Why won't they just be a generic Asian? They're considered people of color. Why won't they call themselves a POC American? They lean into specificity and say that they're Chinese. Koreans lean into specificity and say that they're Korean. Why isn't it an issue when we do the same thing? You say, I never say I'm foundational white American. I don't even know when my family came to this country. I love Americans. We do. I love Americans too. You know what I mean? I'm a humanitarian, but this is the distinction, right? Your family immigrated here, mine didn't. So that's why we have to draw the distinction. Doesn't mean that we're automatically better than you. It just means that we have a different lineage. It's like asking, well, why do you call a leopard? Why don't you call a leopard a jaguar? They're both cats. They're from the same family. A leopard is not a jaguar. A Nigerian, a Senegalese, a Congolese person is not a foundational Black American, and that's perfectly fine. we need ethnic specificity for disaggregation of data, right? Let's just say the Nigerians were killing it academically, like they claim, right? In order for us to know that, we would need to see it on paper. In order for us to see it on paper, we would need to disaggregate the data. If you're standing for Black FBA empowerment, then you don't stand for all, and you don't stand for all Americans. Oh, if you aren't, because I was like, hold on, but I read that wrong. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we are the only true American first people. Oh, and sorry, Harvest. I thought you was a guy. So salute to Harvesting Now. You're a Christian American woman. So yeah, maybe you can come on this panel one time, and then we'll talk about it, and we can see how we can bridge the gap. Because I do want to unite with people, especially from different racial and ethnic backgrounds. And ANN has a great point. Why do you have to categorize yourself as white? Why didn't you just say I'm a Christian woman? Or, you know what I mean? Or why didn't you just say I'm a religious woman? Why did you get specific and say that you're Christian, right? You wanted people to know that you're Christian, right? And just like we want people to know that we're foundational Black Americans. But she says, I pray for Nigerian Christians who may have happened to be Black. Well, yeah, there's a lot of Muslims. Do you pray for the Muslims as well? Because there's a lot of Muslims who are getting unalived over there as well. I pray for anyone that's being treated unfairly, unjustly, whether that's a genocide in Gaza, there's a genocide and famine in Sudan, Darfur, Nigeria. I mean, it's really hell on earth right now. But we can't be the world's police. We can't be the world's therapist. In order for us, like I said the analogy earlier, right? When the plane is crashing, we have to put the mask on us first. So that way we have enough oxygen and energy to help everybody else. We have to secure our spot here first in America, and then we can help, uplift and enrich other parts of the global diaspora. I don't think I have to say my race. Your race is not important. Your race is not important to you, but it is important to society, which is why people in your community, i.e. JD Vance, i.e. Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, they keep whining. We need more white babies. They're not saying that they need more American babies. They said they need more white babies. They're talking about white discrimination, white jobs, white this, white that. So you should be in like those spaces telling them. Nick Fuentes, I'm sure you know who Nick Fuentes is. He's always talking about white this, white that, white that. He hates Black people. He plays identity politics to push white victimhood. These are the people you should be talking to, Harvest. I pray for the Muslims that they will have the opportunity to convert and have peace. Convert to what? Christianity? What if the Muslims want y'all to convert? And what makes Christianity superior to Islamic faith? Yeah, I mean, that's a fair question. You're a Christian, right? So why do you only love Americans? Aren't you supposed to love humanity? We're all God's children, right? More Muslims have been deleted over there, but I guess she doesn't pray for them. Yeah, I don't know about that, because there are a bunch of peaceful Christian slave owners. There are a bunch of people that was thumping the Bible, and then they would go to lynchings. Was that peaceful? I'm sure the people who did what they did to Emmett Till, I'm sure they were Christians, right? Was Thomas Jefferson a Christian? I don't think it mattered. He was a pedo, and he was raping slaves and children. So I don't think it really mattered if he was a Christian. But let me just finish this video, and then we're going to wrap it up. But this has been a fruitful stream. The chat is chatting. I sincerely appreciate y'all, even those that disagree. It makes for a great stream, and so that we can understand each other and get a differing perspective.
Preconceived notions about it, they show up. When you go to somebody else's country, you have to adapt. And if you're not willing to adapt, you need to go home. You don't need to come there with any preconceived notions about anybody, because you don't know enough about the country to have any ideas about who anybody is or what anybody else thinks about themselves. The bottom line is we don't center ourselves in Africa because we're not Africans. We're Americans. And if we tried to be Africans, they would resent that. I don't think I'm being out of order to make a suggestion to Africans who are living in the Western Hemisphere or anywhere outside of Africa. Focus on why you or your parents fled your homeland. Because the more they make videos about Black Americans this and Black Americans that, and they don't have culture and they don't have language and they think this and they think that, the more they do that, the more it looks like they're suffering from separation anxiety disorder. And as wild as it might sound, some people have suggested that some of these Africans might be upset that they didn't come over here on the slave ship with the rest of us. But that's a discussion for another day. They need to detach themselves from Black Americans, focus on themselves and that wonderful continent that they came from. Go home, fix your own country, and invite us over to tea. If you invite us, somebody will come. Am I right about it? Okay, y'all, thank you for listening. Let me know what you think about the video and have a good day.
Okay, and that was the legendary Lady Boulay. And Roger sent me one video, so I'm going to play that short video, and we're going to get ready to get up out of here. But I am extremely excited for all of the people viewing this concurrently, the replay gang. Y'all could have been anywhere here in the world, so I sincerely appreciate y'all doing that. Ronnie Q, let me know what time you're going in the morning. If y'all get a chance, subscribe to Ronnie Q. She is a political savant. She knows her stuff. And I call her Chef Ronnie because she be over there cooking up a storm. And Roger says, don't forget that video I DM'd you. Roger, I didn't know you were still here. But since you are here, I would be remiss without bringing up that video. So let me just go ahead and bring up this video. And we're about to get ready to wind it down. So just in case y'all see, this says Arabs enslaved Black Somali people. This is a video from Al Jazeera. So when many of these people will say that they're Arab and they're Muslim, which there's, how many times do I got to say, there's no race called Arab, there's no race called Muslim. Many of these people will distance themselves from Blackness, hoping that there's some sort of solidarity with the Arab people, but many of them see them as Abid, a slave. So let me play this final video and we're going to wind it down. But I appreciate y'all and I love every single one of y'all.
Libin is relieved to be back home in Somalia. 3 years ago, he tried to migrate to Europe. He never made it. Instead, he was kidnapped by smugglers in Libya and sold as a slave.
Like an animal, I was sold 4 times in open markets in Libya. The last time I was sold for $10,000. I was tortured every day.
Libin's story isn't unique. Amnesty International released a report recently describing how Somali refugees were being tortured in Libyan detention camps. It said they were held against their will by armed groups in exchange for money. Hundreds were reportedly sold for as little as $400, a far cry from the journey these migrants had hoped for.
For 2 years, I was in a Libyan prison. I spent $15,000 and I still wasn't able to reach Europe. Now I'm just happy to be back in country and see my family.
Human rights groups say the European Union's strategy to stop refugees from traveling across the Mediterranean has led to more people being stranded in Libya. The Somali government has been successful in returning small groups of refugees home.
The government of Somalia is committed to bring back its people who are in prisons around the globe. We've been able to repatriate some Somalis who were in Libyan prison. A month ago, we released migrants from Indian and Ethiopia prisons and brought them back to the country. We will continue to do so.
But it's not going to be easy. It took more than 2 years of negotiations to release Libin. And many more just like him are waiting to be given the opportunity to get back home. Katia Lopez Odoyan, Al Jazeera.
So it sounds like many of these people have bigger fish to fry There's slavery going on right now. And the U.S. helped to destabilize Libya. They tried to paint Gaddafi as just horrible boogeyman. And no, I don't think he was an angel, but you're not an angel, and neither is Obama, Trump, or anyone. So that's a foolish metric and litmus test to measure them by. What you could measure it by is Libya was doing much better. And then the U.S. meddled in, helped assassinate him, helped facilitate him being paraded through the street, sodomized. You know, they're sticking things all up his bodily parts, right? Just tortured this dude. And now there's an open slave trade. And what is the U.S. doing about it, right? What are Somalis even talking about that? They're worried about how some people identify, if somebody calls FBA or if someone calls them a tether or a scammer. And meanwhile, back in their homeland, there's an open and active slave trade going on. And this is why I say many of them are cowards. Instead of standing up to the people who are enslaving your people now, this is not decades ago, this is not centuries ago. They're enslaving your people now. And instead of standing up to those people, you flee to another country and start talking about a group that you think that you're doing better than. I mean, that's pretty cowardly. So I'm going to get ready to shut her down. It looks like Knowledge and Relationships slid through. Shout out to KAR M3, the mayor, in the building. And she said, yeah, after American colonizers rescued Libya, and Obama was the one who did it. Shaking my head. Yeah, Obama, a Kenyan African, helped to colonize Libya. And like Malcolm X said, when they want to do something, and I'm paraphrasing, when they want to do something harsh and heinous to you, they'll get a black face to do it just to say it was a nigga who did it. And she said, yeah, they want to say we came to America in boats, but ignoring we built the America that you're trying to get to. No, we didn't come to America in boats. We came to a continent where much of the land was barren. Much of the civilizations was entirely different than what is presently constructed. That's why we built it. We didn't come to an already built White House. We didn't come to a already built railroad system. And I always got to challenge people that, because this is where they have the cultural erasure of us. Anybody, when they say who built the railroads, people will be like, oh, the Chinese. And they just, like, before you could even finish the sentence, who built the railroads, they spit out Chinese. And Chinese people built the least amount. Did y'all hear me? Chinese people built the least amount of railroad, but somehow they get the most credit. They built less than 700 miles. And I'm not trying to say that that was a small feat. Salute to them for doing that. We're talking about, they say numbers don't lie. So here's some numbers. Black American freedmen built close to 9,000 miles of railroad. What is a bigger number, 9,000 or 700? Not only that, the indentured servants built more than the Chinese people. So the number one who was building was Black American freedmen. Number two was indentured servants who weren't enslaved. They were just that, indentured servants, and Chinese people who mainly built on the West Coast. But they give all the credit to Chinese. Chinese people built the railroad. No, they didn't. And look this up. They have mythical figures of Black people building the railroad. Show me the mythical figure of a Chinese person building a railroad. And why don't Chinese people correct this, right? Because we're all minorities and we're all people of color. Why don't Chinese people say, look, man, we had a hand in it, but nah, man, y'all really got to give credit to those. But imagine you was on a basketball team and you scored 15 points. Hey, that's pretty good to score 15 points in the NBA game. But somebody else scored 85 points. But they're saying we won the game because of this person who scored 15 points. I scored 85 points. You just going to discount that? And that's what people are doing. You also don't even hear the buck broken boule talk about this. Many because they have a bunch of coons and tethers in the Congressional Black Caucus. So they're put there to just undermine us and make us these generic African immigrants. They're not there to stand on any lineage here. See, we don't have a history of building 9,000 miles of road in Africa, but we did build over 9,000 miles here. but we're supposed to give that up to look, all gloomy eyed to some place in African civilization that didn't even exist while we were building railroads. These days are over. You got to come tomorrow. I'm talking about the Black culture they want to ignore and erase. Yeah, I'll definitely try to make that because I know that's going to be a goodie. Well, this one, it looks like I have been on here for about 3.5 hours. So I'm going to play y'all some visuals, but I want to give another heartfelt shout out. I know Ronnie Q has blessed me on the Cash App before. Sincere, my boy, Sophisticated Jerk, and anybody else who truly supports me. Man, your contributions mean a lot to me. I really didn't come on here for this. I came to chop it with the family, to give some game and enlightenment, and then Shabazz came through and hit me with a shabam on the Cash App. And, it was extremely touchy. I mean, it was so touchy that this was almost me, bruh. When y'all hit me on the Cash App, I can't keep my emotions. So this is currently me. That's how I be feeling when y'all be sending me the Cash Apps, man. I sincerely appreciate it. So I'm going to get ready to wind this thing down. Y'all can stick around. I'm going to hit y'all with some visuals, and then we going to get up out of here. And if anybody else wants to make a contribution, don't forget.
I think it's about time you gave me my money. I need cash. Please send that money. Please send that money. Please send that money. I need cash. I want my money. I need cash. I want my money.
And somebody mentioned earlier that my channel was being suppressed. Hey, even Stevie Wonder could see that. When y'all come over here, this is the Chitlin circuit. But look, y'all gonna get substantive, eloquent, articulate game. But, I'm gonna be a bit more abrasive and inflammatory with my language. But, if y'all do want to support and you don't want to send any financial compensation, don't worry. There's other ways that you can support. The likes are free. It won't cost you a fee. I call it the triple threat: the like, the share, the subscribe. And if you want to add the quattro, that means you can drop a comment as well. So I sincerely appreciate that. And you know what time it is. Time for a like intermission. We kindly request that you show love to the channel's creator and platform by leaving a like, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest content. Liking posts is completely free and helps the algorithm boost our reach. We want to grow the community larger and larger. So thank you all who take the time to support us. It does mean the world to us and doesn't go unnoticed.
B-Eazy Dat Dude,
shitting on them like doo-doo. I can't fuck with y'all like tofu. I'm just saying, man, like Goku. Bad bitches at the house with me watching Netflix or Roku. Fuck them both at the same time, and I swear to God it was so cool. Street legend, real boss, I call shots cause I'm still saucy. I know some G's to the bike crack on Chirac and then fly back out to Milwaukee. When they hear me flow, they say I be burning up, burning up. Cookie to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. When you hear me flow, say I be burning up, burning up. Cookies to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up.
You love me. You really love me. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.